Hey everyone, today we bring you a double dose of Collins as you're introduced to Mike's wife, Nancy. In fact, bringing Mike on board as a recurring co-host was merely a ploy to get to Nancy because she's truly the rock star in the family. We tell a wildly inappropriate story from our past and then have a valuable discussion that I think you'll want to be a part of. Please enjoy episode 22 of the Ministry of Freedom Show. Welcome to episode 21 of the Ministry of Freedom Show.
I'm Mike Collins.
And also joining us today, Mike's wife, Nancy Collins. Jim Motes. We all know who each other are now?
And Nancy, when you wave at the camera, it won't know you have to speak for the camera to come on.
Oh my God.
Correct.
So now
It's
wave.
not
You can,
motion
while
activated.
you're laughing, wave, and then they'll see it.
Correct. So the software will turn your camera on when it knows you're talking, I think is how it's explained to me. All right, so before we get rolling, housekeeping stuff. Guys, if you get value from the show, consider partnering with us by going to the website. Have you been to the website?
Yeah.
You've been to the website?
I was shopping on the website.
You were shopping on the website. Want to show off your fancy shirt?
I would love to show off my fancy shirt.
All right, let's see it. Okay.
This is the OG. There's new ones added as well.
That is actually true. So ministryoffreedom.show. So if you go to the About Us tab, you can subscribe and partner with us financially if you're led. And our Instagrams. So I'm at Real Jim Motes. Mike, I don't think we've ever given your Instagram out on here.
Okay.
Because I don't think you knew it. So I actually have the official one.
All right,
so it's at MC Joker and the number 3.
All right.
MCJOKER and the number 3. Now,
That's something I'd
Nancy,
pick.
I'm guessing this has something to do with your maiden name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's at Fancy Neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
FANCYNABER. And the show's Instagram is at Ministry of Freedom Show. And those of you who watch the YouTube channel, please like the videos, subscribe, share the clips, comment. Been reading any of the comments?
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Comments are good.
So, well, some are not good.
They're all
some
good.
Some are cringy. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it is what it is. So, okay, here's the plan. We're going to get to know Nancy a little bit before we start rolling, and then I'll get into kind of the structure of the show.
All right.
Does that make sense? So tell us about you. Where are you from?
I grew up on a dairy farm in Sherburne, Minnesota.
Didn't know that.
There you go. See, you're learning
I'm
new
getting
things.
to know her too.
Yep.
So I grew up in Minnesota. I moved to Iowa after college. I've always worked in farming.
Where was college?
University of Minnesota.
Okay.
Go Gophers, baby.
Yep.
And when I lived in Iowa, that's where I met Mike. We actually met at a CrossFit gym. So I'm a huge country music fan, and I was coming home from work. I had just moved to Iowa, and I had never even been to Omaha in my life before I moved here. My grandparents lived in St. Paul. We'd been to Sioux Falls, never been to Omaha, didn't know a soul. And I hear on the radio, Tim McGraw gets ripped doing CrossFit. And I was like, oh, I just had signed up for a Tough Mudder. I'm not that active right now. I should do something. Leave Hy-Vee, huge letters. If you've been in Council Bluffs, it says CrossFit. So I drove over there. And
That's your joint?
Yeah.
Is his gym.
It was our gym, yeah.
And we were friends there for a couple of years, did CrossFit, and found a husband there of all places.
So friends for a couple of years.
Yep.
Okay. That's interesting stuff. And you've been married how long?
We got married in 2019.
Has it been that long?
Mm-hmm.
That was a good time.
Going up on 5 years, yeah.
We got married in New Orleans, Louisiana. So it
You
was
did?
really, really fun.
I was there.
Yep.
You were there.
I was there. You were there. All three
I'm
of us,
glad.
actually.
I'm glad you guys
Yeah,
showed up.
Yep.
Is that where she met you? Is that the first time
That's
you were
the first time
spotted,
we
Jim?
met, was at the wedding.
Is that true?
I think it's true. Usually in town, you guys would go
I would
meet
tell
up
you
in
about
Iowa
her.
and you'd go to lunch.
Yeah.
Or you guys would have boys' day and meet up. And then I think we met at our wedding.
I'm like, I found this fantastic girl at CrossFit.
I remember that being exactly what your words
Yep.
were.
Yep.
Yeah. About how sweet she was and had
Yep.
a giving, loving heart, I think is what you
Yes,
just
that's
kept saying
true,
on and
yeah,
on and
yeah.
on. And I was
Yep,
like,
yep.
"Ugh."
Yep.
Yeah. You always kept it really PG.
I did.
You're a good man.
Yep.
Thank goodness.
Very honoring. Good guy. Yeah. So with guests, I always have a scripture. So
Yes.
like I've done with you several times is, hey, think of a scripture and we'll use that on the show. I didn't even have to ask you. So last Sunday, we all went to see Stevie Nicks. And on the way to see Stevie Nicks, I get a text and it says, here's Nancy's scripture for the show.
Yep.
I thought, shoot, I didn't even ask. This is going better than I thought. So you gave me your scripture. Do you remember what it was?
Jeremiah 29:11.
It is. Man, I'll read it. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Why that scripture?
My grandma always does embroidery. And when I went off to college, that's the verse that she did for me. She actually just passed away in January. So kind of crazy, but it always reminds me of her. It's hanging in our bathroom. And I think it's good because I think his plan is greater than ours and we don't know what's to come. So have trust. It's a good reminder.
Yep,
I love having it.
That it's not going to harm us. His plans are to prosper us and give us a future. It's not prosperity gospel, but he does want good for us.
I think I've always liked it, but I think since my grandma did that, I think that's what kind of made it special.
Really good. I like it. Let's set up the structure for our time together here.
Okay.
So this is going to be unique, which is what we try to do on the shows. You've been on several times, so we want to do it. We want to at least mix it up a little bit.
All right.
It's going to be a little longer discussion than we typically have, and it's going to be two distinct sections. The first part is going to be reading and reacting to an account of a story that you and I lived together 30 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That you may not know that much about. And so buckle up. The second part is going to be a discussion geared a little more towards business, entrepreneurial topics. I mean, it could be current events. It could be fitness, whatever. And then we'll defer to you, Nancy, for that. There's no script for the second part at all, and it's going to be no pressure. But whatever you want to talk about, we're going to talk about. The structure of the show parallels the structure of the book that we're going to read from. So the structure of that book is the first half of it is largely storytelling and autobiographical. And the second part of the book is more practical, actionable type of teachings.
And this is your book when you say the book.
Right, which I'm getting to that in a second. Spoiler alert.
I always do that.
So stop reading ahead.
Okay.
But yes, so before we jump into the story part, I need to remind the audience, we were different dudes back then.
Right. This is the early 90s.
I used to be a different man before encountering Christ.
This is back when I used to brag about the fact that I committed a felony a day every day.
Oh my. I'm about to learn some new things.
So he used to joke about that. So sometimes before, it's midnight, I'm going up to bed. Did you get your felony in? Yep. Okay. I don't want to hear anymore.
Collins, how did we get cable?
Another felony. So the accounts, it's part of my story, part of my testimony. And I think it's important to talk about these things because there's overcoming in this. Mm-hmm. We're also going to laugh at it. Mm-hmm. And there's value in reminiscing and laughing at that stuff, but might be a little bit inappropriate. So younger ears, it might not be super appropriate for. I don't know if there's kids listening to the show or their parents are in the car or whatever.
What do we want to be? I mean, children under 12 listen to the podcast, tune out now.
I mean, I can't really put a number on that because
let's see how it goes. We'll put a number afterwards.
My dad took me to see Porky's and Apocalypse Now at the movie theater.
And you're younger than me, so actually I was pretty young.
I remember seeing Apocalypse Now. I was like 7, and I was sitting there going, wow. My dad, is a Vietnam vet and everything, and he was all about it. So we're watching the choppers come in and all the bombs and the killing, and I'm just like, what?
And what was your favorite concert your parents took you to, your first one?
Yes, I was 9.
You saw Kiss live
at 9.
Kid.
77, yeah.
Nice. That's a great story.
Yeah.
So it's time to lighten it up. We're going to dive into the narrative. I'm going to read the account from the book that's set to come out this summer. The title is My Past, Your Future: How My Transformation Can Help Optimize Your Life. And yes, that is my book.
All right.
So you stop me if you have comments or questions. You might have some comments or questions. Mm-hmm. And if you see me going down a road that you're not comfortable, I can't imagine that's true, but wave or something.
I'm more thinking I'll dive in and I can get you to wave
You
off.
may,
Let's
and
see
I
which
might
one of
do
us
that too.
First. All right.
So the names have been changed though. So you're going to hear the story and be like, who?
Yeah.
So the names are changed. Not yours and mine.
Okay, good.
Your full names.
Okay, my full name. All right.
I didn't even ask you when I was doing the book. I'm putting your whole name,
That's
first
perfect.
and last.
I like it.
Hey, you ready?
Let's have it.
Here we go. First unveiling of the book.
All right.
This section is called 1994. We should go on the Ricky Lake show, Erica calmly said on a phone call. Erica was kind of my person for a while. A girlfriend? Not sure. But we had a certain level of intimacy and an even deeper level of friendship. Back in the early to mid 90s, trashy talk shows like Ricky, Springer, Maury, Jenny Jones, and the like were the biggest rating grabbers on TV. At the end of a particular episode, Erica saw the call for, if you want to dump your significant other and break it to them on the show, give us a call. Jackpot. Erica had devised a plan that would involve she and I, along with her friend Sammy. Sammy's a girl. Mm-hmm. Erica had moved from Omaha to Seattle a few months prior. Now here's the gist of the proposed plot. Erica and I are a couple. She moved to Seattle, and my plan was to move out there so we could be together and start a new life. Erica had met Sammy and didn't want to be with me any longer. Now, the lesbian aspect of this narrative was a lot bigger deal then than it would be now. Agreed?
Yeah.
And this dumping would be totally out of the blue, and I would have it dropped like an emotional bomb on my head on national television. Yes, please. It was largely speculated these shows were faked and the guests were all in on the bits. Nope. I went through no less than 5 calls and interviews from different members of the production staff to make sure all of our stories matched up. They told me I was coming on the show for a relationship episode, but couldn't elaborate. It was time to get to New York City. The show booked our flights, hotel, and transportation, which made me feel like a rock star. Albeit a rock star who managed to muster up a whole $30 in cash to take with me. I asked Mike Collins to come along. I lived in Mike's house at the time. He had more money than anyone I knew and was slightly more unhinged than I was. So he seemed like the perfect travel companion. We would spend one night on the island of Manhattan. Go.
So I have a question. This was obviously before social media. All this. Who calls you? How do they get a hold of you?
Landline.
Yeah. Do they call the landline at the house?
Hi, this is Ricky Lake.
So
you want to be on the show?
So Erica, it's obviously not her name, so I have to remember to. If she
breaks up with you on Ricky Lake, I think you have her permission to use her real name. So
she's still around this area though, and we're not,
Don't talk. You're friends not. Don't talk anymore. Yeah.
Correct. So she told me what was up, and that I could be expecting a call. So it was like every day.
You didn't ask why? Why do they want us to go on the show?
They talked about it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
we set it up. Yeah. So the producers would call and put you through these questionings. Like, so how long have you known this person? And where'd you meet? And this and that. So they're trying to make sure you're not lying to them.
Yep.
And then you have to sign all kinds of forms saying you're telling the truth and stuff. I mean, I didn't care. So yeah, that's how that went. So then you
thought, hey, this could get crazy. I'll bring my unhinged friend.
Correct. Yeah, okay. That's where we were.
I'm following.
Good. Okay. Back to the book. Night 1. We arrive and immediately get to the hotel and drop off the bags and race out into the darkness of the city, literally and figuratively. We're already severely intoxicated as we make our way into a bar and order food and shots of Goldschlager.
Already, now that I'm remembering the story.
You what?
I might tap out already. This can't be published. Oh, man. All right, go on.
Look how ready he is.
He's embarrassed. He doesn't get embarrassed very often,
boy.
so this is funny.
Oh, I haven't gotten to the good part.
I know. I don't know. I don't remember the night. I'm sitting here like, how does he remember this? You forget so much stuff. How did you remember all this stuff? Because it's coming back to me in pieces now, and it's not.
It's come back to me in pieces.
All right, go ahead.
I remember sitting.
This has not been pre-talked about.
I remember sitting at the Mac going, "What the heck did happen?"
Oh my gosh. Okay.
No, it's all out here.
I may be be embarrassed. I may. And why is Nancy here today?
Because that makes it funny.
We need Bruce. Calling for Bruce.
I wanted to see her reaction to this.
Oh boy.
Oh my.
So you're basically.
I'm a little judgmental.
You're basically taking this show now and becoming a Springer type of show.
Correct.
We may actually fight.
Yes. You know who's not going to fight? Me.
Yeah.
I just get to sit back and watch this.
You're going to be
nightmare.
Jerry. You're Jerry.
Correct.
Oh boy.
I'm Ricky.
Okay.
So we're already severely intoxicated as we make our way into a bar and order food and shots of Goldschlager, a clear, potent alcohol with flakes of actual gold in it, which makes it more overpriced than my usual well drinks.
And it was brand new right then, right?
was
Didn't the
brand new.
waitress
Just
tell us
come
about
out.
it? We didn't even know about
Didn't
it.
even know about it. You familiar with this stuff?
I have tried a few.
Okay, so it just comes out. So after amassing a bar tab of easily $400 or more, now
least.
30 years ago, that's starting to be grown-up money.
New York City, downtown, we ate
What
right
would
by
that be
Times
now?
Square. We're right by Times Square.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Bidenomics.
Mhm.
Just wanted to slide that in. So I say to Mike, well, I'm out of here. You coming? Remember, I left the house with $30 to my name. Mike nodded. We casually headed for the door. As soon as we were a step outside, we turned to the right and sprinted off like we were running for our lives. I'm pretty sure no one was chasing us, but the sprint and preceding theft was exhilarating all the same.
I've never heard this story.
You're never heard any of these stories, I promise
Buckle
you.
up.
Yeah.
The rest of the night's a little foggy, but here's an abbreviated list of some of the highlights.
Oh my gosh.
Picking up 2 hookers who, although pretty,
Oh my gosh.
were bigger than both of us, and who I had to threaten with violence if it came to light in our room. They were, in fact, men. They weren't. Hang out with giant prostitutes in New York City? Check. Going into a disgusting strip club in the heart of what was then the most dirty and I'm assuming dangerous part of the city? Check. Finding myself sitting underneath the iconic Times Square sign, smoking a joint that I purchased with some of that $30 from a rando that I befriended. Check. Wandering off the beaten path onto a street lined with wet, stinking bags of trash like you'd see on every cop show, and then proceeding to perfectly form tackle Mike into said trash and roll around for a bit. Check.
I may have gotten stabbed by a syringe in one of them trash bags. I'm not sure.
Getting back to the hotel in time to get 2 hours of drunken sleep. And then up early to go on national television to fake a story, manage my nerves, and finally meet one of my TV girlfriends at the same time. Check. Thoughts on that portion? I left some things out.
I appreciate it.
You
I remember the strip club. The funny part about the strip club, we went there and they came over. Some girl was sitting by you. They're like, would you like to buy her a drink or whatever? And you're just like, look at me. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And so they bring her back a little like fake bottle of wine or champagne or whatever. And I give the waitress a 20. So again, this is 1990 something where we're used to being in Omaha and a bottle of beer is literally $1.50.
Yeah.
And I don't see the waitress again. So then pretty soon I flag her down and I'm like, hey,
where's my change?
Yeah, where's my change? And she's like, I'm like, how much was that bottle? And she's like, $15. I'm like, $15? And we're in the ghetto area.
Yeah.
And I go, well, great. All right, well, you never give me any change. She said, and I work for tips, mother effer.
Yeah.
And off she went.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And I said, we got to leave.
Yeah, we're out of here.
We got to go.
You okay so far?
I'm just curious to hear more.
Okay. Show day.
I'm just curious what my ride home is going to be like.
I was curious the
I
same.
wish we'd have brought 2 cars.
Show day. I was ushered into a green room along with another guest so we could not so patiently wait for our turn in the literal spotlight of the stage. Remember, this was a surprise relationship show, and although I was in on it, the others apparently were not. This dude, an early 20s actual cowboy with the boots, buckle, hat, and all, told me he's pretty sure he's there because his girlfriend's going to propose to him.
I remember that.
He was right. She's going to propose. He gets the fuck out of her life. I smirked and was excited to see this dude after his world was crushed. Told you, it was broken.
Yeah.
Remember me telling you that story?
Mm-hmm.
So this dude, he's the nicest kid in the world. He's
and
everything
he's all
I
done
described.
up. He's thinking he's coming. And his done up is cowboy hat, big buckle, boots, like
I love
nice
her
jeans.
and she's going to propose to me. And I'm like,
and we know it's a breakup show.
yeah, I know you're here to get dumped, pal.
Yep.
But yeah, it was finally my turn. I was escorted into an isolation box where headphones blasting Mariah Carey music were placed over my ears to deafen the happenings on the stage. The producer pointed to me, my cue to take off the headset, open the door, and walk to the left and onto the brightly lit and familiar stage, unveiling the clapping studio audience. Ricky and, of course, Erica. So they were going nuts. You walk out there and you see all these lights, and there's Erica sitting in the chairs, and there's Ricky Lake standing there. The setup was complete, and I sat there as Erica dumped me. Ricky then said, "Let's see who Erica has dumped Jim to be with." Sammy emerges from the back, and the audience went absolutely nuts. I was in shock. Honestly, this was some of the best acting I'd seen, and I really think I missed my calling. Although in hindsight, I think I may have a face made more for podcasting. At this point, Erica proceeded to tell me how sorry she was for dumping me and didn't know any other way to break it to me other than bringing me on the show. I then delivered my line. I looked at her and said, "Telephone broken?" The audience cheered so loudly, some were actually falling out of their seats. Had I found my calling? After our segment, we were all ushered back to a small room where we could discuss our feelings and process our emotions. I wasn't interested. I mean, why start those things now, since not processing any feelings had served me so well up to this point? The door suddenly opened. There she was, Ricky freaking Lake. I creepily jumped up with anticipation. When Ricky approached me, I didn't accept her extended right hand. I instead grabbed her and brought her in for an inappropriately deep embrace, deeply inhaling the smell of her hair and perfume. Yeah, I know. Disturbing.
And told everyone forever, "What did you do?" "I smelled her. She smelled so good."
Smell Ricky Lake after committing fraud and accepting compensation to appear on a trashy talk show? Check. The show aired a few weeks later. I remember seeing previews for our episode days prior and also recall how surreal it was to see my face on TV. I was certainly the talk of our friend group. We had a large watch party at Mike's house to celebrate. How did we know so many people who didn't have to be at work at 3 p.m. on a weekday? After the episode,
Full house.
It was too. After the episode aired, I was recognized a ton in public. One time at an Iowa Hawkeye football game in Iowa City, I was in a shoulder-to-shoulder crowd, and people passing me going the opposite direction actually recognized me. I had on a stocking cap and sunglasses, but was apparently still noticeable as the dude from Ricky Lake. Just crazy. Becoming a faux celebrity and using it to garner free drinks, drugs, and to manipulate impressionable young women into sexual favors? Check. Life quickly returned to normal until I received a phone call a few months later. It was a producer from the Ricky Lake show who extended me an invitation to come back for the best of the season update. Yep, the country wanted to make sure I was okay after the lesbian love triangle turned dumping. I accepted and returned to the scene of the crime. This time was way more tame, but another super fun experience. There's a VHS tape of both shows that exists. At the time of typing this, it resides with a lot of my possessions and memories at my former home, which is now referred to as T's house. But I'll get it back and plan to air it on the Ministry of Freedom show. How would I sum up the entire Ricky Lake experience? Me. So freaking me. Did I cover it?
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
So you were in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
There's a shot
on the video.
On the video of the crowd. And like, I think Ricky's
standing there and the camera's on her. But I can't see the camera. Because like,
if you're watching closely, all you see is this. His head comes out from the side.
Behind her to look at the camera. I lean out from, she's standing with her back to me, looking straight into the camera. And I'm like completely blocked from the camera. So I'm just
right. So in all honesty,
I had the Joe Dirt haircut too.
You did too. Oh yeah, the full mullet.
Full mullet.
So
I wore a Joe Dirt haircut
business
till Joe Dirt came out.
Party in the back, mullet down to mid back.
I did not even realize that Joe Dirt haircut had passed until the movie Joe Dirt came out, making fun of the haircut.
Right.
But I realized it
was great, man.
I didn't even have to cut this off.
Come a long way, brother.
Well, when I retire, I'm bringing it back.
To.
I'm shocked.
I'm going to have a full-blown mullet when I retire. I don't know if you knew that or not. Bringing it back.
So
you got that to look forward to.
For years, I said, when I end up selling my stock and get out of the car business, I'm going to get a neck or head tattoo.
All right.
So I still have to hold.
We got to get that.
That's why he's wearing the jacket. Are you going to do an unveiling?
Jim's hair. So I had cropped in the front, sides, long in the back. Jim's hair was like he would literally could pull it down. His bangs were.
Yeah. So my
sound creepy.
My style when I was on Ricky Lake was. So it was a look.
Yeah, it was.
So my hair was probably this long, but same length all the way around. I had it was jet black with like purple highlights, and I would wear it in like a ponytail or a bandana or something. And I was like a grunge dude at this point.
When you were insulating, you'd always pull it all
the way back in a ponytail.
Do we have pictures of this we can also put on the website?
Oh,
we'll find them.
Yeah, we need to find this.
So I had like flannel shirts with the sleeves cut off.
Lots of flannel. Lots of Seattle. Yeah. Lots of Seattle grunge going on.
Yeah. Had the boots and the shorts.
Always wore boots. Yep.
Yeah.
Doc Martens and.
Yeah, all that. So whenever I share my testimony of coming to Christ, I compare and contrast that lifestyle with the person that I am now and how I live my life. It's pretty different.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And I think people will listen to this. And so I just came from a men's group breakfast that shout out Guillermo, my friend Guillermo from Peru. He puts together a breakfast for a half a dozen of us or so every few months and cooks this huge spread. We get together and kind of share where we're, what's going on in our lives and read some scripture and pray. And it's a really good time. So I talked about the show, I'm going on the show to talk about this today. And they're like, what's this? I said, yeah. So I was on the Ricky Lake show and I said, tune in, you're going to hear some stuff. But so it's important to show those changes. Mm-hmm. I think it lends to, if anyone doesn't believe in the power of the transformative power of the gospel of Christ, then they don't know me. Because I can't go from that freaking guy to whatever I am today with just a willpower or whatever that is. So that's why I think it's important to discuss that stuff. We can put a closing parentheses on that. Any thoughts?
Yeah, Nance. What's your thoughts?
What part was the most shocking? Was it the hookers?
That they were big hookers.
So you wouldn't have been surprised if we'd had small hookers.
I don't know.
Oh, Mike and Jim getting small hookers?
Actually, I'm surprised I could never picture Mike dining and dashing. And at this time, too, I believe Mike was big boy.
I had a business, but I had a business. But
I meant a big boy, not a business.
Oh, yeah. I was
sprinting out of there after
but I was
dashing.
also 23 or so. So even the fat 23-year-olds can run pretty good.
I just can't picture this.
And who knows? I mean, there was times there that I would get skinny back then too. But
we will see when we get the tape.
Yeah, I was probably 250 or something.
I don't remember you being crazy out of shape or anything.
Yeah,
that was. I mean, the bill was too high.
Do you remember? That we ran and we jumped into the first? It's literally like the stuff you see on TV from New York City. We ran down the first subway tunnel that we came to, the first entrance where you run down in the subway.
Down below.
And so then we get down there and there's a police officer sitting in a little booth, like just a little 8x8 booth where he's sitting there. And I had to pee so bad I couldn't stand it. So I go behind his booth because the back wall didn't have windows. The other three walls were all windows. So I'm literally standing right behind this guy, 5 feet from him, and gonna pee right there. Well, it was so loud, it echoed in that. Remember, and it went on forever. Like you're like over there. You're like,
it's like a sitcom, a bad, dirty sitcom.
Was someone chasing you guys?
No.
We didn't know at first.
We didn't know. So we're down.
Once we made the corner out of the bar, we were gone.
The subway area is fairly empty, so it's super echoey, and it's all concrete. So I'm just kind of standing there, waiting for Mike. The cop is 8 feet from him. And I hear urine hitting concrete, echoing throughout this chamber, and it just.
But I couldn't stop. Then it's just like
on and on, and then, dude's peeing. You think it's over. Here's a pause. I'm like, finally. Then the stream starts again, and I'm like, and the cops just. And I'm locking eyes with this guy. So I'm just staring at him. Yeah. And we're both hearing it.
And it's not the busy subway like you see in New York. It's the middle of the night. There's no train coming. There's nothing. They're just us two and a cop. And me peeing 4 feet.
That's one of the things I didn't remember.
Yeah.
is the
I'm just standing right behind him. And then it's not long after that. Yeah, we're back up on the street. And then Jim decides to tackle me into a thing of garbage. Like, I'm start like struggling. He's like on top of me in this garbage. And like, then he just rolls over and he lays in the trash. It kind of spreads out. And I'm laying in the
like
trash. I'm
making trash angels.
I go, why did you do this? And he says, all the time you see on TV with all the trash stacked on and people like tripping on it and falling it he's like, I just wanted to do that.
I did.
Okay.
Again, different life.
And we're laying in the garbage, just looking up at the sky. All the buildings are so tall.
You know, one of the challenges that Bruce is going to have is how do we take this videotape and we have to digitize this thing? What do you do with a videotape to get it played? Do you own a VHS player?
No.
No one does.
I'd say you're going to have to figure that out.
Denise has one. Because
There
we
go.
watched your kids' childhood movies
Oh,
not
there
that
we
long
go.
ago. Remember that?
Yeah, there we go. We got to find the tape.
Okay, so I have a question.
Go.
When was the Ricky Lake day? And then kind of take me down a timeline because I didn't know you then until when you decided
Decided to straighten up
straighten up.
Oh,
from the 94 to.
so a while. So 9 years. Things got way worse after Ricky Lake.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I was pretty tame in 94.
Pretty tame at Ricky Lake.
Oh, yeah. Things went super downhill from there.
He drank and smoked pot then, and then it got worse. Yeah, he found harder drugs. Gateway. Unfortunately, the weed gateway drug brought him down.
Not really.
No.
You know what brought me down is drugs were fun. Anybody that tells you that good drugs don't feel good haven't done good drugs. They're just life-wrecking and horrible. And so, but it got worse after that. So in 96, I ended up getting in the car business. And up to that point, so I was 24 years old. I don't think I ever made more than 10 grand a year in any given year of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started in May in the car business and I made like 30 grand in the last 6 months of the year or something. So I thought, okay, now I'm rich. And so with a little bit of money and no bills,
What was your first role at the car lot where you
I
made
was selling cars.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was working for Mike and came home from work one day and I'd moved down the street because I moved out of his house. And I said, okay, dude, I need a cell phone and I need health insurance. And if you can't do those things for me, I'm not going to be at work tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, not doing that. And I said, neither? Even? Nothing? You're not going to give
No
anything? He
counteroffer.
goes, nah, nothing. Guess I won't see you tomorrow. Okay. So I got in my car, drove the block down
And we
to
only
my
lived like
house.
4 blocks away. Yeah.
It was close.
Yeah.
So I drive back to my house. And so I had purchased a vehicle. My mom had to co-sign for me. That's the situation I was in from a credit perspective back then.
And what was that truck?
It
in
was a little
hindsight?
purple
I remember
truck.
that, but how much was it? Do you remember? What, 4 grand or something?
No. Oh, and it was more than that. It was
more than that?
only a year old. I don't know,
Okay.
10 grand probably.
10 grand. All right.
Purple's your color.
It was. Yes. So the hair, so I remember I went home and I called the guy who was my car salesman.
Okay.
And he says he remembered me. I don't know. I said, hey man, I need a job. I think I can sell cars. Can I come up there and talk to your boss? He goes, yeah, come on up. So I went up there and interviewed. And I remember sitting with the guy and he says, everything looks to be in line here. We'll give you a shot. Can you pass a drug test? And I said, like now? He says, yeah. I said, no.
Mhm.
Could you pass it in a week? Yes.
Yeah.
That I can do. So he let me wait a week. I started like 2 days after that and then started selling cars, moved up the chain from there. And
And I don't know if it was the next day. Like, did you go up there the very next day, like the first day not at work?
I went that same day that I talked to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that later that
'Cause I
day.
remember, I had a bitch and orange Camaro at the time, and I remember driving the bitch and orange Camaro up the street and saw you and your car dealer guy walking from the gas station across the street, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what's he gonna do? Sell cars?
Yeah. So I started selling cars and was okay at it and stayed in that business for 27 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was 94. I think the Ricky Lake show, 96. I got in the car business, sober summer of 2003. So to put a little bit of a time perspective on it.
So 10 years later.
Yeah. So I was pretty jacked up from like 15 years old till 31.
Wow.
I went at it pretty hard.
How did you decide that you wanted to become sober?
Well, I was sick of my life. And I talk about it. It's in the book, but I talked about it on a episode, one of our first ones. I was best man in a dude's wedding, and it was just making an ass of myself, and was all strung out on coke, and I was just a mess. I was 240 pounds, 3 packs of cigarettes a day, just a jerk. Treated people like
What about the
crap.
smoking? Had you quit? Did you quit smoking at the same time as
No,
alcohol,
I
or
didn't
you
quit
smoked
smoking
for a
until
while, right?
that December, the following
That's what I thought.
December.
Yeah, a little while longer.
So I quit drinking in June. So I quit like cocaine and alcohol and everything cold turkey. No treatment, no nothing. It was freaking awful. And then quit smoking in December. My last cigarette I had was that New Year's Eve.
Right.
It was pretty good on my pocketbook, though, because I told people, hey, I'm cleaning up my life, so I'm not drinking or smoking or doing coke or anything anymore. But I was still smoking. I just stopped buying
them.
cigarettes.
That's right. Did you stop buying cigarettes at the same time?
I did. Yeah, for the most part. I wasn't buying cigarettes anymore. But
that was the ongoing
steal.
joke. Everybody that saw him was like, he didn't quit smoking, he quit buying them.
Correct. Yeah, so that made it even tougher to fully quit, because I'm like, boy, they're not even a thing anymore. I was listening to something the other day. A dude was I was at the barber shop. I wasn't listening to something. So I'm getting my hair cut, and there's a dude in the chair next to me, and it's just nonsense. And he's talking about that he and his wife are going to quit smoking. He says to the stylist, do you know how much cigarettes are now? So of course I'm in their conversation in my head. I'm thinking, I don't know, $5, $6. How much can cigarettes be? He says cigarettes are $10.75
a pack.
I was going to guess 8. Made
this
up number
dude
in my
said
head.
out loud, box of Marlboro Reds is $10.75, and him and his wife are smoking a couple packs a day.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's keeping people poor.
So I worked at a hydraulic plant until 1992. And I remember one of my friends there telling me there was a cigarette machine there, and they were marked up at the cigarette machine inside the plant. And I remember him telling me the day they changed the price on that machine to $2, I quit. I'm never bringing $2 a pack in here. So
Wonder if he did.
no, he didn't quit. They went to $2 not long after that, because it was $1.75 already.
Yeah.
And so he like picked a day that he didn't know for sure the day, but yeah, they went to $2, and he was over there with 8 quarters.
I would like to know what Erica and Sammy are up to.
Right. Well, you could probably do a little internet
I think Bruce
stalking.
probably knows.
Yeah.
He kind of does that Facebook, keeping tabs on people things a little more than us.
You can give me a little information offline.
Could.
I could do a little stalking as well.
I'm pretty sure that the Erica person is married and has been for a long time. Still lives local.
Did you know that Nancy and I were dating for you wouldn't know this, but we were dating like 6 months when she actually told me one day, she's like, I've never Googled you, because it's funny. She is like the Google queen. She'll Google everyone, if I
I'm
tell
a curious
her
person.
this is a friend of mine, she looks them up.
Interesting.
And she's like,
have you Googled me?
Part of that, as I found the show, you didn't even tell me the swag was online. I went online there and I was like, oh, what'll Mike want for Valentine's Day? And I was like, oh, they have hoodies now.
You got him a
already given
hoodie?
a t-shirt? We have a hoodie. He has the t-shirt with the
Yeah, you're wearing
the front.
DeKalb.
it's in New Orleans.
Is that how you say it?
DeKalb.
DeKalb.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 100-year-old
Also a
company.
hoodie she got me. I pretty much go through the
Got you.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's that testimony. What do you think? Drastic difference?
I never believe these stories. I'm like, there's no way these stories are
good,
about
because
Jim.
that is all actually fictional.
I will tell you this, though. That is
I've never been to New York
that's
City,
super
other than
tame.
with you.
That is actually super
Even
tame.
the stories about Mike are things I hear. I'm like, if you see him, most people describe him as the most generous, kind,
well,
funny.
I would have described him
nice.
that way then, too.
Oh, good.
I mean, I honestly, he was the most kind and generous and still all those things that were his heart. Whereas I think that I was legitimately a prick. I was not a good dude.
Which no one would describe you as that now.
Read the comments.
There were some times, I remember being sometimes with you, or I'd just be like, I would just walk away, just like, he would just be mad to be mad, whatever. And I'd talk to him and there was a couple of times you actually got angry toward me and it's like,
Do you
Whatever.
remember? So this is why I remember this. I lived in a little house down the street from you that we were referring to.
Yeah.
And I remember we had a cookout or something one night and you were over there. This was strange because I was strangely sober this particular evening and he was drunker than I've ever seen him. And I never really saw Mike that drunk that often. It was my lifestyle. But this particular time, I was pretty sober.
I would drink like
you were
once a
super
quarter.
drunk.
It was like once a quarter. Yeah,
He's at
back
my
then.
house and I'm trying to get him to leave. You brought some people over. I'm like, here, just go, just leave. Won't leave. The reason I remember this is because for the longest time, my shoulder was super messed up because I tore my rotator cuff. I busted a plastic molded like
Outdoor chair.
patio chair over his head. I swung this chair, they're all
Over Mike's head?
Yes. And I hit him so hard over the head that it shattered the plastic chair into pieces. And as I came back, probably just because I'm old now, but I took my shoulder back too far and ripped this. And so for years, I'm talking 15 years after this, I'd go to put a coat on and be like, oh. So I remembered this happening. And I don't know if you even remember that going on.
I remember. I just took you and put you down.
Correct.
And
Yes.
like got on top of him, and
Yes.
I'm like, he's like yelling
Throwing
at me
a
and
fit.
everything, and I'm
Did
like,
he then
and
leave?
I'm like held him, and
I
I'm just
think
like,
so,
I'm like, yeah, I
eventually.
don't know, I did. I just like got on top of him and held him, and I'm just like, are you done? And he's like, if you leave, I'm like, I'll go, man. I can't believe this is happening. And that was another time, like I'm just like, whoa, really. And
that
why
was
were you
me-
not drinking?
And that was
day?
me pretty sober. I was just not a good dude.
Why are you not drinking that day?
Don't
I
know.
wonder.
Maybe that was the problem.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So we've had an interesting history
I think you found drunks annoying if you were not drunk.
for sure.
Possibly. You came home. You may have came home. Yeah, you were grilling out though. I don't know. I don't know if the party had started before you got there. Possibly. But I had a key to your house back then, so
Yeah.
I may have showed up with guests. Or a couple times.
Yeah.
I think I actually got thrown out for having guests at your house a couple times. You'll have that.
Guests, he says.
Which is funny because now Mike is fairly introverted. Guests
I'm way introverted.
guests are hanging out or what. Mike spends a lot of time alone. I don't know if it's because he was an only child or the small circle.
So when I tell people that I'm introverted, they just instantly laugh. I'm like, nope, I'm pretty introverted. So we went to that concert the other night. That takes everything I have to go to a concert.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to get myself in the right headspace
Really?
and even the whole time that we're there, I mean, I'm enjoying it, right? I love
Yep.
Stevie Nicks and so I had a really nice evening and everything, but the whole time we're in that arena, I'm just scanning. I don't know what I think's going to happen, but I don't like it.
So we were on the front
Constantly.
row, right next to the floor, and people kept coming down.
Oh, dude, I was
walking
mad.
down our aisle to get to the floor.
We would have
They
gotten
were going
thrown
down.
out of there.
Yes, and Jim.
There's no
were
doubt.
Getting very close to a massive explosion.
100%. Did you also see the security guy come over and put his hands on Allie?
Uh-uh.
So we're on the very aisle, very front row. She's like a foot into the step. No one's going to be there anyway.
Yeah.
We had a super professional security guy sitting right outside of our little deal. Super nice guy. I was watching him interact with people all night, drunken people. He's the most patient guy in the world. Anyway, one of his cohorts comes up and it's so loud because the show's going. He's trying to get her to step back a foot into the aisle and she's not understanding. He grabs her. And so I thought, okay, that's just not going to work.
Right.
So I get rid of this guy and the other security dude kind of jumps in and shoos this guy off. And then I'm trying to talk to this guy. I said, what's wrong with your buddy? I said, we're obviously we're not trouble people, right? We're sober, having fun people. Why is this guy touching?
Yeah.
You don't be touching people.
Right.
But that's as bad as the night got. But yeah, for sure, when I thought, okay, and I go through these things in my mind where I make agreements that, okay, so I don't cause a problem, I'll let that happen 3 more times.
Right.
So I come up with these rando numbers in my head. Like, okay, so it happened again. No big deal. The chances of it happening 2 more times are almost 0.
Yeah.
So boom, happens again. So right then, now I have to turn around and let other people know,
Warning.
hey,
Warning.
one more time,
Yeah.
I have to do something because I've made this agreement with myself. I don't want to,
Yeah.
but I don't have
I'm
any
gonna
choice
flip
now.
out. Yeah.
I'm going to flip out, but I have such a handle on my emotions now that I can I'm like, just to let you know, I've scheduled a flip out.
Yep. And he did tell us.
Yes. Just to be clear, it'll go bad.
And so the very next people that came, and luckily it was the last people.
Yep.
You remember?
Yep.
I see him coming, and I say to Nancy, I go,
by the way, all females.
yes.
Yep.
I say to Nancy, I go, hey, we should run up and use the restroom before the show starts. And so we get up, and I'm like, hey, Jim, we're going to the restroom. And so then these people didn't follow me in the line.
Yep.
And I even told him on the way, he knew what I did. It's like we made eye contact. Yep. And I'm like, hey, I've saved the blow up one more time.
Yep. So it's difficult. So I have, but I schedule it out so it's not super impulsive. I'm like, okay, this happens 4 more times.
Here's me sitting in the row. I see him coming and look over there, look at him. I'm like, shoot, Nancy, come on. As soon as they get here, let's go upstairs.
Like the dudes at the Chiefs game when we went to one of the AFC Championship games, and these dudes are standing next to me in the aisle. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, 4 more times. Because, but so introvert. We're both introverted people.
Yeah, I don't like to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I enjoy this. I enjoy hanging out with you.
For sure. No, me too.
I enjoy hanging out with her. There's certain people. Nancy's a people pleaser. She likes to invite 38 people over.
I don't know that people pleaser is probably the right badge. You just you're social. Mm-hmm. You're not trying to please
I'm inclusive.
Everybody.
I want to bring everybody.
She wants us to include her. She wants to make sure everybody
When I was in
included.
3rd grade, I remember there was something we had on our computer. You could make homemade cards. My parents said, yeah, you can have some friends over. And we had sleepovers a lot. Well, whatever. I decided I wanted to invite the whole class. I didn't tell my parents or anybody. I just went on the computer, made 30 invites, and we got home. We went off the bus, and here comes 1, here comes 2, here comes 3.
I like it.
And my mom, she just called my dad. Hey, we need more Casey's pizza. We need more pizza. We need more pop.
Pizza.
But she was calm about it. Hey, we need more pizza. We have a lot of kids here. We had a lot of cousins, but I always think that's funny because I was like, I probably should have told her I was inviting over 30 friends.
Yeah, so you're an entertainer. You still do that at your guys' house down
We
south?
had a pizza party last night.
Yeah, you
in
almost
Iowa.
got invited yesterday. She called. She's like, should I invite Jim and Allie? I'm like, you already got enough. Jim's not going to want to come meet 15 people.
I should have just texted Allie and left you and Jim out of it.
Right.
We got an uni pizza maker for Christmas from his
I made
girls.
a decision for you, but maybe
which we love.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Actually, we had Allie's daughter last night.
Oh, she was definitely coming too.
So
she could play with the grandkids.
Yeah.
They will love her. So we do pizzas,
She's
and Mike is a pizza maker now.
No, I didn't know.
Familiar with this? Not to
Cough?
interrupt you. Yeah. It's just the worst sounded thing in the world.
Aww.
So I Googled it, not contagious to adults.
Okay, good enough.
Hopefully she feels better. So yeah, Mike's now a pizza chef. So we will have you over and
Yeah, not with 15 people you don't know.
Would I have known any of them?
Well, my dad was there, my mom. So you'd know Denny and Vicky, of course. And
Cousin
my mom's
Trisha.
sister. Yeah, cousin
Chevy.
Trisha.
So I would have known everyone.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay. That's true. Yeah, You know my Aunt Carolyn?
I don't know. Does she ever work
she's
with
a
us?
listener.
No.
That we were teaching her how to get on YouTube last night. She is 80 in January, and
Yep.
she is a
What?
fan of
So
the
she's
show.
a fan?
Yes, and she's only been able to, when I've shared the link on Facebook, she's click it, so she hasn't quite figured out how to get to YouTube and find the channel, but
She's on Snapchat. We'll help her get to YouTube.
yeah.
Okay, so let's see here. The Ricky Lake thing, I'm still confused and not sure what's going on.
We can move past that.
Okay.
So how'd you start writing a book? Have you always wanted to? When did it start coming together?
So
Let's hear more about that.
wanted to write a book for a long time. And I'm in a season where I wanted to do a lot of things that I don't know how to do. So I don't know how to do this yet.
Yeah.
The podcast thing. We're just figuring it out. And certainly didn't know how to do it 20 episodes ago or so. And I thought, I want to write a book. So the first day I sat down, so I opened up my laptop and I wanted to do like an outline because I know there's ways you have to do it and you do your outline and your drafts and all this kind of, but I thought I'm not going to do the typical way. But I just wanted to get a picture I wanted to do, and I read a lot of books. So that gives me some insight into what I want it to look like, but I didn't want it to be like other things. So I wanted the contrast to be, I'm going to tell stories that were impactful to me from different parts of life. So the way that the first part's designed is I'll take like a year. And like this was called 1994. And then that's a section. Yeah. No chapters. Decided not to use chapters. And you're okay.
Knocking over the books.
That's all right. And so there's several of those. One of them's like one of my earliest memories, and then some from high school time. 2023, I break down by the month, which was an interesting to go back. And there's things that you'll read that will disturb you that you never.
More disturbing than Ricky Lake.
So for sure, like, because like personally, like dark things and some stuff that I went through last year. And so that'll be an interesting read. And talk about the divorce and those types of things. And then I contrast that with in the second part. So that first part's called My Past. That's the first part. The second part of the book is Your Future. So I break down, there's a section on alcohol, physicality, faith, get into some political current events types of things and my views on that type of stuff, some workplace entrepreneurial things, and finish it off with a summary. And
I can't wait to read it.
So yeah, it's an interesting process. The fun part is going to be, Bruce and I were discussing this before you guys got here. The publisher people are like, do you want to do an audio version for Audible? And then I said, absolutely. Okay, we can hire somebody to do the reading. And I said, well, I want to do the reading. Yeah. Well, we'll have to get you set up with, I said, got a studio. Gonna get it all done. So Bruce and I are just going to figure out, we're going to come in here and do like an hour or two in the mornings and do the reading and
cool.
See how that comes out.
I don't know about politics. So I saw just like how it'll show you on Facebook, there'll be like pop-ups of just like a screenshot or whatever. It's a screenshot of Biden and it says President Biden told Netanyahu,
yeah, at the
that
State
he's going to have
Union.
a come to Jesus with him.
Yeah.
And so I just read that. And then the longer I think about it,
how funny it is because he's Jewish.
Yes. like I expect next week to see Netanyahu says he has now declaimed his faith in the Lord Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior.
Biden, the great evangelist.
After speaking to Joe Biden, Netanyahu has now decided to profess his faith and he's found the Lord.
Just amazing. Let me tell you about the timing of the book, though. So here's the plan. The show will come out on the 19th, I believe, Tuesday the 19th. I'm going to start 75 hard April 2nd. Let me make sure I have my dates right here. And I'm going into it with the thinking being I'm going to get through 75 days. Now, if you mess something up, you've done this. Yes?
I've never completed it.
Okay.
I've only made it to like day 35.
So if you mess this up, go back to day one. So if you screw up your food or you don't get your water, the drinking part I've got down, right? The picture, that's going to be the thing I could forget, I'm sure. So I'm going to have this thing on my mirror that I see at night that I'll have to check off. Okay, did I do my picture? I'm assuming, and maybe arrogantly so, that I'm going to get through the 75 days. The 75th day will be June 15th. The next day is my sobriety birthday. And it happens to be Father's Day. And that's important to me because that was a day that I would always spend with my dad in the last, decade he was alive. He would always come visit. On Father's Day, we would spend the day together, watch the final of the U.S. Open. So that finishes on my sobriety birthday, which is also Father's Day. And that's also the day we've scheduled for the book to be released.
Wow.
So the 75 hard.
I think you'll get through it.
If I can do all this, then it finishes off that Saturday. Then Sunday is the book release day, the first day off of 75 hard, Father's Day, and all that kind of coming together. So there's the time frame for the next couple of months. So that's how all that lays out. But this process is way different than I thought it would be.
Crazy.
I thought editing would be, hey, you misspelled this, or you forgot to put a semicolon here. And it's essentially, hey, I need another paragraph about this. I don't think you were concise enough about this. The audience might be confused at this. I need you to retype this section and da-da-da-da-da. And so then there's that back and forth because I don't have to do any of it.
Right.
Yep.
But their job is to, hey, we want you to have a product here that people are going to want to buy and
make it clearer.
Yeah. So we'll see. And I don't know how to write a book.
Yeah.
But you just sit down and do it. Apparently, if you go build a bridge, you're a bridge builder.
Yeah. I don't mind.
There's a joke
the
with
rest
that.
Of this. Yeah. I heard the rest of it.
Now we need to hear it. I don't know
no,
the joke with that.
He'll tell you later.
That'll be for another episode.
The audience probably knows. If the audience is tuned in, please put it in the comments.
Or
tell the joke in the comments so that Nancy can read up.
So I've really enjoyed getting to know you over this last stretch of time. And you're super smart and you're super good at directing conversations and things, because the next section is we defer to you to take control of the show. But rather than go into that, you said, please tell me what it's like to write a book. So see how she did that?
Yep.
Very sharp. But now we're going to pivot back. Now it's your turn. So here's things I thought you might want to talk about. We can do current events. We can do business, leadership, entrepreneurship, health and fitness, and whatever. And I'll start with a question for you. Is there a difference between leadership and management? Yeah?
Yes, I would say there is a difference between leadership and management. I would say leadership can be at any level. I think sometimes management, you think of hierarchy and where everyone's at, where I think anyone can be a leader. It can be from the top down. It can be from the top up, how you present yourself, how you influence others, how you want to impact them. So I thought it was cool when we were talking that you talked about when you were a manager, how you helped your team. And you think about managers, they help you maybe with budgeting, maybe with goals, what you need to get done. But you talked about how some of your success came from helping them personally get better. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
She did it again.
I know.
No, that's what we should. I'm kidding with you. That's what we should be doing.
By the way, I'd like to say that when you asked that question, I thought it was pretty tough question to ask without giving her any lead. And I was thinking about what would I say to that? And she actually had a better answer. So,
what was your answer going to be?
I don't know. I actually I would have been talking.
I think collaboration is one of the best things that you can bring.
Leadership at any level is true. You have leaders.
Yeah.
You have leaders of the fries.
Management is a problem. I'm really anti that whole word, the whole thing, the manager. Because to me, that person has to control every little thing. And I went through different phases. I was just a manager for years. And I think it was kind of how I was brought up and taught, kind of do things with control and with fear. And it can be effective, but it sure is stressing. And it causes a lot of turnover and a lot of problems. So when I transitioned over the last couple years into more of a leadership role, it helped everything. It caused some conflict with my business partners because it was a little different than the status quo. But I set up things, and go ahead.
So what was your guys' status quo? What was the environment like?
I just think it was more a little bit old school to where this, do as we say, and this is what we expect from you. And it was very rigid. And also, if they want to work hard, as long as they want to play hard, as long as they work hard, we don't care. And we don't want to focus on the person as much. They're here to do a job, and don't get into
making us money.
Right. Don't get into their personal life. And I think maybe those boundaries can be healthy, but it didn't work for me. I didn't need to know every little in and out of everything you're doing. But if you're not understanding the person, then you're not going to understand the performer. So we were in the sales business, and so we always had a board, and that would track sales and everything. And on the right side, it would be, here's how many units you have sold. And I would always encourage the team. I'd say, I don't want to focus on the right side. I want to focus on what are we doing over here? Let's look at the leads. Let's look at what our action steps are. What are our habits? The right side's going to take care of itself. So the right side's kind of like the scale when you're trying to get healthy. You never have to worry about what that scale says if your processes are solid. So we need to get to a place, and this isn't just in business, I think it's in all aspects of life. If we can take ourselves away from being goal-oriented, which sounds, you got to be goal-oriented. No, you really don't. If you can be process-oriented rather than goal-oriented, those targets are going to hit themselves. If you're getting your protein and your training and you're getting your water in and your sleep and all these things are pretty well dialed in, are you ever stressed when you go to the scale? You shouldn't be, because that's going to take care of itself.
But you obviously divide things up differently. Like you're looking at health and fitness in a way of you're not setting a goal, but you do set a lot of goals. Like, I mean, you're constantly, a lot of your text messages, whatever, will be like, this many subscribers by this date.
So
this
targets.
Yeah,
targets, yes. Because I think those are important.
Yeah.
Like, well,
it depends. I'm just saying that you're fluid. There's certain things of your life that don't have to be this. I don't have to have
perhaps, but I would
as
even
long as
say,
I'm working hard at this.
and maybe
thing
I've misspoke a little bit too,
successful.
because I do have targets. Like I'll give you a target in mind is I want to have 12% body fat.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not doing a DECA once a week, and I'm not on the fit tracker every day thing. Where's my body fat? I am going to do that over time, but I'll go a month without checking metrics because I have other metrics. Like some of the metrics are, okay, how do I look in the mirror?
Yeah.
How do my pants fit? How's my skin? And these are non-scale metrics.
And did I hit my
victories.
protein today?
Have I gotten my protein? Did I have 6 donuts?
Yeah.
So I do have those things that I am trying to achieve, but I focus more on those are just going to be, when you think about it, goals, those targets are only functions of your habits. So if we're not focused on the habits, what are we even doing? It's just hoping. You're hoping and then going to be disappointed. So I'm coaching a dude, and the last week's episode, which is weird because you haven't heard it yet, but it is last week's episode, and it's out now.
Yeah.
So there's a friend of mine that I've been coaching and helping who is significantly overweight, and he's really trying to transform his life, and he's down almost 30 pounds.
Yeah, not every Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah. So we go over a lot of these processes, and this is a dude that weighs himself every day. I said, "Hey man, stop. Well, I got to know where I'm at." No, you don't need to know where your weight's at. You need to focus on your processes. That weight's
and the
just
daily
going
weight fluctuation
and that's going to mess
throw
you
off
up.
track.
It can do one of two things. It can, hey, I had 2 donuts yesterday and I lost 1.5 pounds. I can that reinforces that behavior.
Yeah.
Or I worked super hard and I put on 1.5 pounds. Now I'm deflated. So we don't need to focus on that stuff. So I always believed if you focus on the person and the processes and procedures and the habits, all the other stuff happens. If your managers focus on sales numbers, leaders focus on processes. That would be one of the biggest differences, I think. And you'll get a more well-rounded person too. So one of the parts of the book is called The Exchange, one of the sections, and it talks about business. And the exchange I've mentioned on the show before, it speaks to your trading, you're making an exchange for your time, your effort, your worry for what the company gives you back, and how that exchange can be improved. One of the ways from a leadership perspective you improve the exchange for the team member is sit down and ask them what's important to them. And you brought up a couple of those things. So there was a gentleman who, hey, I really want to lose a lot of weight, and what can I do here? So I said, okay, let's come up with a plan for that. Let's talk about nutrition. Can we bring some food to work instead of eating McDonald's at lunch? I said, I'll come down 3 times a week. We'll go for walks around the car lot. I'll set aside an hour 3 times a week. We're going to go for our walk. So I just schedule that in. Got to go down for my walk, and that would help this guy. And hey, once you lose 20 pounds, we're going to take you to Men's Warehouse and buy you a suit. And people respond to that, or they're trying to improve their credit. So, okay, well, if you want to be transparent with me, I think I can help you. Let's look at what your credit card bills are. Let's attack them this way. Let's sign you up for Credit Karma or whatever it might be. And then once a month, we'll sit down and review. And hey, where's your score at? And you start seeing people come alive when they're hitting metrics in their lives that have nothing, quote unquote, nothing to do with their work performance. That person who's improved their credit 20 points in a month is going to work harder moving forward because their whole countenance, their attitude's different. And they believe that you have the ability and the care to help them achieve in other areas of their lives.
So how did you see when you helped them improve their personal life or things that maybe weren't directly related to the number of cars they sold that month? How did you see that impact at work?
Well, inarguably, their attitude's better. And I was in the performance business for 27 years. So it wasn't just, factory worker blindly doing things. It was how your attitude was a direct correlation to performance. Also culture. So my belief in business is that the foundation that the entire business is built upon is the culture. Without the right culture, even if you've got some players that can perform, it's very short-lived. So the culture is the foundation. People that are happy, people that understand that their leaders are competent and care about them, when new folks come in, they pick up on that right away. So culture. And it also, there's two sides to that. One side is when new people come in, they buy in quickly. And the other side is the people that are just natural negative people that don't want to improve their lives, they weed themselves out.
Negative Nancy's.
Yeah. You almost never have to fire anyone. The culture will fire them, managers have to fire a lot of people. Leaders should rarely have to fire anybody.
I think when you say managers versus leadership, I think a lot of times when you think of management, I've worked in sales for a lot of years or account management roles, and you look at the numbers and you think, hey, money motivated. If I sell this many cars, I'll make this much money. I'll do this. That's actually not what's important to a lot of people. So I think determining, hey, I want to get healthier. I have grandkids on the way. I want to be able to keep up with them. Hey, I want more time off. I love to camp. I want to be outdoors. Where when you break down what's important to them, I think a lot of success comes with that. Because yes, money is important. That's why they're there. But that's only part of it.
That was shocking to me when I came to that revelation, 20 years into my career. Because for me, for a lot of years, it was just money, money, money. I remember I had a conversation one time with a gentleman who was my then general manager, and he's since passed away, and he was a really good mentor of mine. His name was Bob. And Bob sat me down one day, and I was recently promoted into management. I was probably 26 years old or so, and I was just a jerk and had kind of manageritis. And so I ended up losing this role. And so I fought really hard to get this role back. And I thought, I just got to work harder. I didn't really want to change much, but I just got to work harder. So I sat down with Bob, and he says, okay, we're going to give you another chance, but I'm going to have you do the role for a couple of months, and I'm not going to pay you for it because I'm going to see if you're willing to. And I thought to myself, well, and I turned it down at that point. I said, I'm not going to do this for no money because I'm only here to make money. And I said, in fact, if I could go be a garbage man and get paid more money, I would go be a garbage man. And that was true for me back then. And as I reflect back upon that, money shouldn't have been the main motivator there. And he was trying to teach me that. Not that money is not important, but I thought for most of my career that everyone thought like I did. And younger folks that are coming up, it's amazing to me how non-important the compensation is. It's a big deal, but not the biggest deal. And you don't want to underpay people, but if your only motivation is how you're going to pay them, you're a bad leader. You're not a leader. You're just a bad manager. So money is important to people, but I have found that these people that are millennials, Gen Z folks, money's not the biggest deal to them. Time off is super important to them. They want to be able to, that was never a thing for me. I thought I'll work 6 days a week because we couldn't be open on Sunday. But understanding their motivations, I think, just the questions. I never thought that until the last few years to sit and ask a question of, tell me what's important to you. What are you trying to get out of this?
I'm curious, just for curiosity's sake, the role, was that finance manager?
No, so it was a selling assistant. So there was our organization would have, you're still a salesperson, but you're like the senior one. And so if there's a manager that's off or sick or whatever, you can jump in and take that role. And it's a way to kind of OJT type of thing. You're on the job learning these different things, and it would pay a small guaranteed salary a month to do that stuff.
So you're just like helping out the other salesmen, basically. Yeah.
And learning at the same time. But yeah, that was the biggest thing is, man, it's just not all about the money. And watching them come alive, it's a good thing. And here's the selfish part of it is I made more money. When you're caring about what's important to this team, your business does better. You just start making money hand over fist, but people don't get it. And I think you should have standards that you are forcing yourself to stick to. If I could go back in time and change some things, one of the things I would do is I would fire faster. I held on to bad culture people that were decent performers for way too long out of fear. Because, well, this guy sells me 15 cars a month. I can't get it. It's hard to say what that really cost. You can't figure opportunity cost accurately on any kind of financial statement. But without a doubt, firing quicker would have helped my career a ton.
Mine has always been holding on to people too long that are toxic. It doesn't even matter if they're a good performer or not. It's just they have a kid, they have a story of why it is they haven't came to work and why, and you just keep give them another chance, give them another chance. And even though they're not a good performer, you just with your heart feel like, okay, I don't want to take this guy's job, even though he doesn't care about his job, unless he's losing it. And they'll call and say anything. Hey man, don't fire me, please. Look, give me another chance. And I'm always like, okay. And then you bring them in, and these are the ones that absolutely go around and pollute everybody else's brain the worst. These people will do more harm when they are at work than when they're gone.
Isn't it interesting that our industries couldn't be different,
right?
But the commonalities are the people. So the problems are the same. The struggles are the same, no matter the industry. Leadership, so management can be very individualized, very specific for that career field, for that marketplace. But leadership transcends. So I think you're talking leadership if it can transcend the different businesses. So what makes sense in the excavating business can make sense from a leadership perspective in the car business or marketing or whatever you're discussing.
Let's ask Nancy some questions. Get her something.
What do you want to know about Nancy?
I'm thinking maybe you.
Do you know everything about Nancy? Is that what you're saying?
Probably not.
You want to talk about your work?
Sure.
You want to talk about where you work? You want to keep that a secret?
I work for Bayer. Yep. So I work in their agriculture crop science team, and I work with corn, soybeans, and I worked Mike is modeling one of our DeKalb hoodies right here. Worked with them since 2010, and we help independent companies that buy traits and genetics from Bayer.
Okay. So sometimes when you tell people that you work for Bayer,
what's the first thing I thought?
Yeah. What was the first thing you thought, Jim?
Aspirin.
Okay. All right.
Now, there's also a second thing I thought
what is
that I don't know if it's appropriate to bring up.
No, please do.
So many decades ago, Bayer was involved with some not great folks.
Back in Nazis?
Yeah. So I don't know how much of this...
I sent her that article recently. Actually.
So when I think two things. So I think, the aspirin people. Then my mind immediately goes to, so Bayer was sympathetic to the Nazis, and they did a lot of not okay stuff back in the day. And
so you want to know what's funny?
Yeah.
So the company that she originally worked for when I met her was called Monsanto.
Yeah.
The makers of Agent Orange and...
Oh, no kidding?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What else is Monsanto famous for?
Our corn.
No, yeah. I mean, bad stuff. But what else they got on them? The cancer. What was that from? Roundup. Anyway,
are they part of that too?
Yeah.
Are they still a business?
They got bought out by Bayer. Monsanto got bought.
They did.
But anyway, so when she tells people she works for Bayer, sometimes some people actually, instead of making this connection you do, they make this connection with Monsanto.
Oh.
Or GMOs.
Yeah.
And they attack her for. Yeah, I mean, right?
Yeah, it's your fault.
It's pretty common that people aren't comfortable with what we do in the industry. But even Mike can say, we just came back from Commodity Classic. We were at a big convention with thousands of farmers. And what they do, we were actually talking on the way over. I was like, wow, it's really developed. We were driving to Bennington, don't spend a lot of time over here. And I was like, how long till all of this is houses? What are they going to do with all the farm ground? It's all going away. And Mike's like, well, there's still the heart of rural America. But he's like, I remember when I was growing up, people would be bragging at the coffee shop about getting 120 bushels an acre on corn. And the productivity, it's doubled, it's tripled. They don't need quite as much land because the technologies came so far.
So technology is wonderful in a lot of ways, but how much of that technology is harmful to the consumer? I don't know the answer, but I know that I'll give you an example. So wheat, for instance, the short wheat used to be just these flowing wheat fields and the tall wheat and everything. And now it seems in our country, we have short wheat. And I read a book called Wheat Belly back in the day. Have you ever heard of this book? About how harmful wheat and gluten and all these things can be for your body. And I was listening to a podcast the other day. A person talked about in the States, they can't eat cheese and gluten and stuff, but they traveled to Europe for a month and ate all the bread and all the cheese and everything and had zero problems. And they attributed that to, we have different genetically modified wheat here, and that the stuff that's in our dairy is entirely
more abrasive
different
to your system.
Yeah, entirely different than what is over in Europe. And obviously I'm not educated in that stuff, but I wonder, do you think there's any
It'd be interesting too, because there's a lot of varieties of different ones, what they're for. So I'm not super familiar with wheat, but I know like one that we launched a beer when we were down in Texas. And it was a certain variety that was just made for that. So I think of that too, like with different dairy. I grew up, we had Holsteins, so which were for milk, but all the different breeds of dairy, what they're targeted for. It'd be very interesting if maybe milk from like a Jersey cow was easier for you than a Holstein, or how it all works.
Well, by the way, my point wasn't that. It's just funny that she is into fitness. She's had friends, acquaintances,
Relatives.
friends
Yep.
that attack her. Like she's trying to get healthy and like in this group, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, you work for who?" Like, what? Like
that would never cross my mind.
Ostracize somebody because
how ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that just speaks to where we're at as a society. I mean, everybody's got to be better than somebody or cut somebody down for something. Or
it was one of them. It was funny. She was going on about how people shouldn't eat pork. And she's going on a rant, and it was tracking macros, nutrition, and where things were at. And I was sitting there listening, and finally I was putting stuff in the chat because pork, when we grew hogs, my parents still do that, something I'm involved in, but it's a great source of protein. If you get pork loin, it's also very cost effective. Not everyone can go get.
We're all about pork in our household.
Absolutely.
All
and
about it.
If people think it's unhealthy, or maybe you're thinking of bacon or different things that way.
Love bacon.
I do too. I'm a huge fan. But if you're actually trying to get a lean protein, pork loin, pork chops are a great option. They're cost effective, and you just need to know how to cook them. Most people chronically overcook their pork. No, that's bad. You shouldn't eat any.
So I'm guessing, and not to interrupt you, but I'm
ahead.
guessing that the people that are attacking you from this perspective are basically fitness models and are ready to be on a magazine tomorrow.
There's some, but I think we're just getting more
Actually,
removed.
A couple of them, probably. The one gal is actually, that's pretty much what she does. But yeah. But
I don't get the...
So why did they attack you for the pork? What was their story?
They were just saying that it's not healthy. And everyone listens. Like, we're all just looking for an answer, a cookie cutter program. People are like, oh, shoot, I can't have it. That's bad for you.
So I don't understand why processed foods to me are bad.
Agreed.
I don't have all this other stuff's bad. So I think that I like to eat fruits and vegetables. But then you know what? Hey, you shouldn't eat too many apples. Or, oh, you eat 2 bananas a day? Oh, you're good.
Yeah, too much sugar.
Too much sugar. You
have to be careful with bananas and strawberries.
Got to.
Natural
No, not strawberries. No, because if it has the word berry in it, it's
okay.
healthy.
Oh, okay.
So blueberry, blackberry, strawberry, those are all good, but you can't have too many oranges.
Then you have the other team that's counting natural sugars too.
Exactly.
It's still sugar.
And it's no wonder that people eat protein. Throw some freaking greens in your face once in a while, even if you have to drink them. And what else? Not eat processed foods.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I had a pancake this morning over at Guillermo's. Well, I had 2 pancakes at Guillermo's. You know what? They were freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I had eggs, pancakes, and pork sausage.
There we go. Thank you, Jim.
And threw a little butter on for it for good measure too.
One of our CrossFit coaches used to just say, if it won't rot or spoil, don't eat it.
Yeah. So if it lasts on your shelf forever, I get your opinion on this too. I love animals, so I'm a huge cat person. And I heard something, Joe Rogan was actually talking about this food that he got for his pets. And it's the good stuff that's, it's got blueberries in it and some real meats, and it goes in the fridge. And so it spoils if you don't use it. Why are we feeding our animals stuff that can sit on the shelf for 10 years?
Right.
Stuff shouldn't be lasting 10 years. It's crazy to me.
Your ex-wife still have a cat page?
Yeah. At Chips Kitties.
Okay.
ChipsKitties. Yeah, they're Insta famous.
All right.
They have 10,000 followers.
Can they promote the show?
So I believe that they would.
Oh, yeah.
So Ponch, John, and EJ are their names.
Yeah.
They, however, I think would need my ex-wife to help facilitate that because she controls their finances.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, maybe you can have a talk. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. We probably won't do that.
Blurb. Yeah,
Seems like that wasn't going to happen. But I do think people should go on Instagram and check out their page because they are the cutest animals on the planet.
That's cute. So I think it's funny when you talk about nutrition and coming full circle. Before I joined CrossFit, I was young. I didn't think about fitness or that stuff, but I remember everybody's going paleo. So in my head at first, even though I feel like I'm halfway knowledgeable, I'll do some reading. I was like, oh, well, rather than use regular flour, I'll use almond flour. Rather than have a box of crackers, I'll get paleo crackers. Remember the CrossFit coach, Ricky? He was awesome. He's like, no, we're not doing that. Like, it's still not good for you. I'm like, well, no, it's good for you because it's paleo. And it's funny because it just took a mental flip of like, don't make it so complicated. Bring a leftover hamburger, bring a banana. That's your post-workout.
Yep.
You don't need special powders. You don't need this. Add in supplements once you're ready, but until your core nutrition is down. So no, I think it's something cool.
So certainly you should be on testosterone and peptides and whatever else you can inject in your body.
Yeah.
And
Maybe not Nancy.
maybe.
No, probably not.
Women get on TRT.
Yeah, I don't want her to.
Nancy's not.
I'm against it.
All right. So yeah, that covers that. So I don't begrudge you because you work for Bear. I mean, I think these companies do.
It's
I love
funny
it.
to me.
They've
It's
been-
hilarious. They are a good.
Go through
they're a
all
good
the
company.
companies and see if they've ever done anything
Right.
nefarious or, I mean.
And not
let's
only
just move
talking
on.
about that, as far as culture being there, I'm lucky to be surrounded by some really good people.
Yeah.
And when I think of the people within there, you were talking about how, hey, when I was only thinking about money or I helped this person, there's somebody's name if they pop up on the phone. We were leaving to go to an escape room on Thanksgiving. And I was like, hey,
You made it out?
my coworker, we did make it out.
We used all the clues.
We did use a few clues. I'm not a
Yeah,
super
yeah,
patient person.
Yeah, no,
Understand.
I have no desire to ever go back.
Never. No.
Oh my God.
Awful.
But depending who it is, if they help you, you have a good experience, I'll drop everything and help them. Hey, we're running late. Come on. I need to help them. They've helped me. Or there's some, it's like, voicemail. I'll hit that after break.
Mhm.
So I think how you treat people is,
Yep.
it's going to go both ways.
And you have a lot lately mentioned that people from your work, you're like, okay, this person is actually really smart. Like,
Mhm.
so I mean, there are some people that you're associating with at your job where you're like, these are some higher level, intelligent people I want to be around.
Mhm.
Or I don't always run into that.
I think there's a lot of really talented
I
people
have a
there that
few.
want to help.
I have a few, but obviously not.
What's the career path? Have you given that thought for you? So
Up until recently, I thought my title was field sales rep, and I went and helped the people in the field who directly helped the farmer. So being farmer facing in the country, I took his granddaughter out around Halloween and we delivered boo bags and we went and rode in combines, tractors. And she said when she grows up, she's doing what Nancy does. We went and got Casey's donuts. Sorry, not healthy. Dropped them off.
you
we
know how
brought
much
lunch.
we talk about Casey's when you're around, dude?
Yeah.
I guess when we
They
were
don't
living
have
in
them in the South.
This is like the third time it's come up in this episode.
We don't
And
have them in the South.
So so the audience can get caught up.
Oh, yes.
On my drive here, I get a text from Nancy. It's you going into Casey's.
Hey, he doesn't know I sent you that.
Yeah. Yeah. So see.
Sorry, we're running
Yeah,
late.
Yeah. So yeah, in the South, in New Orleans, they have a chain of gas stations called Brothers, and they're like their main prepared food is fried chicken and chicken tenders and like steak fries, and it's good. And they have decent food, but then you come to the Midwest, and here's Casey with like breakfast sandwiches and pizza, and you can actually get a sub there. So it's like totally different. It's like
I love
yeah,
it.
we're in a different part of the country, but it's like a different world.
Yeah, I'm not in
I miss
gas stations
Casey's.
much.
Yeah, I love gas stations.
If
love
I would
them all.
take him out for a perfect date, Mike's a big steak guy. He likes meat. I could take him for a super expensive steak, or I could take him to a racetrack gas station and grab a hot dog and a bottle of Coke Zero, and he would probably be just as happy with both.
Either way, well, yeah, and then wouldn't waste so much time with the racetrack.
I'm a frugal person, so I guess, yeah, your next birthday we'll go to racetrack
Do you know
gas
about
station.
Buc-ee's?
The gas station?
Yes.
Yeah.
You heard about them? Not the Omaha Buc-ee's, like the national chain
No,
Buc-ee's.
I don't think so.
Based out of
So,
Texas,
They're 100,000 square feet.
50,000.
50,000? Okay.
So it's like a truck stop?
But they don't allow any trucks.
So a stop.
It's a stop. And they have people in there making fresh food, fresh fudge, barbecue. Like their barbecue brisket sandwich is like a big deal.
So if Bruce were in here, he'd probably have it pulled up on the screen that is
Right.
blank.
They have
Mm-hmm.
like 100 gas pumps. So no semis, no big rigs.
Okay.
Like 100 gas pumps. They've got huge electrical charging station for electric cars. And then, yeah, you go in there and it's got, tell some of the stuff. Like, because there's also, it's almost like a general store.
You walk in, there's like a boutique, nicer clothes. You could get a baby gift. You could get a wedding gift. You could grab a new outfit. There's specialty hot sauces. There are tons of spices.
This doesn't seem at all necessary. I
We
wouldn't
had a brisket
ever go in
sandwich,
there.
taffy. I got
Yeah.
a t-shirt, some Mardi Gras
30
stuff.
different fountain drinks.
No.
Then coolers lining the walls with every soda known to man, every energy drink
And
ever
it's
consumed,
expensive.
every kind of water.
So
it doesn't speak to me.
I've been there twice now, and I'm a huge fan.
So I won't drink anything out of a fountain. I don't drink soda. I'm not getting an energy drink. The only thing I would go into Buc-ee's for is a bottle of water.
Okay.
And you know what? Probably a lotto. I might get a Powerball ticket in there.
Okay.
Because at some point I'm going to win the lottery.
All
I
right.
don't know if I explained this genius plan to you.
I actually bought lottery tickets yesterday for the first time in so long that I'm looking at the thing, you know, I'm at the cash register because I do go to gas stations. I'm looking over the cash. It says like 560 million for Mega Millions or Powerball, and then like 650 million for the other one. And I tell the gal, I'm like, I'll have 5 of each of those because I had a couple things and I had a $20 bill in my hand. I'm like, I'll have 5 of each of those. So then she rings them up and she's like, it's $20. I'm like, $20? What do you mean? And I'm like, aren't they $1? And she's like, no, they went to $2. It's $2 for each. And you can actually do add-ons. And I'm like, okay, then I want 4 of each because I still need to buy my drink here with my 20.
And you're paying with cash.
Yeah, and I'm paying with cash. I'm like, all right, well, 4 each. I'm like, when did they start costing $2? She's like 8 years ago. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Right.
So that's how often I do it.
And lottery really hasn't kept up with inflation, so it's actually a better buy at $2 than was years ago for $1.
The jackpots always seem to be way bigger. I mean, I remember when it was 100 million was a big deal, and now I'm just standing at the register like 500, 600. And
how much lottery money would it take to change your life? So you're not going to work tomorrow.
Not going to work tomorrow.
Yeah. You know, you're gonna sew up your loose ends and sell your stuff or whatever, but you're done. How much would that take? Net money.
10 million.
10 million.
Yeah. I mean, I'd still do stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
you wouldn't just go to the beach and die.
No. Yeah. I'd still have a business.
Dude's got to have
Even
a mission.
10 million,
man.
I'd still have a business.
Talked about this morning over at Guillermo's house that men have to have a mission, and women too, but it's a men's group. I told these guys, because this one dude's been retired for like 20 years. And he's, well, you know, I sleep in and I get some golf in. You know, it's all great. He's a super good dude. But he's got these other things that he does. He volunteers at a high school and he like tutors kids. And I mean, that's good on him. Would you go tutor kids if you won?
No, if I won the 500 million, I'm like, you know how you always see the little things about there'll be signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would buy that Woodman Tower in downtown Omaha.
Yeah. I don't think that would even do it. But you got to have a mission. So that's why people die 2 years after they retire. Yeah. You got to have something that you're chasing. So 10 million would be your number.
10 million would be a number that I would change some things that I do. Like I wouldn't, but pay off debt and slow down, do things differently.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't quit.
You agree?
I will never win the lottery probably because I don't buy lottery tickets.
Well, that's
and my number would be a lot lower.
Really?
Because I don't really have any. Mike loves racing, dirt late models. I don't really have any expensive hobbies. We like to travel, and I guess maybe it's because I grew up in a small area or what, but I always tell him, even now, I'm like, how do we make life simpler? How can we spend more time in Branson at the lake? How can we get to Minnesota more to see our family? Like, to me, that's where I want to work at. It's not as much about the number.
What about you?
Well, what would my life look like if I had $10 million? How would it be different? Just a different house?
Probably.
I mean, I think if I had 10 million net dollars added to what I have now, I would probably still do this.
Exactly.
I would write another book.
Yeah.
I'd move.
It'd move some stress, right?
For sure. Yeah. So it would switch stress. It would transfer it. I don't believe that money ever lessens the volume of stress. So let's say that you've got half a jar full of stress. Mm-hmm. If you get $10 million, those marbles are just going in different bowls. I don't think it dissipates the amount of stress in your life. I think it just changes what it looks like. And it'd be stresses that you can't imagine, because what we anticipate is our lifestyle and our current issues are the same after we get the 10 million. And the 10 million takes some of those away. So I automatically have less stress, but you're forgetting what it would create. The issues that it'll create, we don't really understand because we've never been there. So it would create some issues. Like you'd have a team of lawyers if you had, $100 million or whatever, and how many people are coming out of the woodwork and they want this and that. And all of a sudden you're getting sued when you wouldn't have gotten sued before. Because when you have 100 million or even 10 million, you said this, you wrote this, I'm coming after you for this. So there would be different stresses. So I think that thinking that money is going to lessen your stress is a falsehood. And I think that's why there's a lot of disheartened wealthy people.
And the business proposals that you'll be dealing with from everybody you've ever met.
For sure.
I already get a lot of that.
Right.
It's like,
Nancy will be sending me a text, want to buy bear. I'm like, I don't know, Nancy.
Yeah.
You know, they were like with the Nazis. I can't be affiliated with that. The Ricky Lake crap's bad enough in my past. I don't want to be known as the dude on Ricky Lake who helped Nazis.
Oh my gosh.
He's poisoning our kids, and he was.
Yeah, you would keep your GMOs, buddy.
So I think it's interesting, and you guys will both probably have different answers for this. People want to make a change, whether it's somebody who's at work, hey, I want to make a financial change, or I'm saying, hey, I want to get healthier, but nobody sticks to it. So if somebody's wanting to get started, or even you have 75 hard coming up, what are you think are a couple nuggets or something they should use to get going and stick to it?
Oh boy. This one's difficult for me, and it's because of how much my life lacks normalcy and balance. So I can't really speak to why they wouldn't want to get started, because that's hard for me to understand. I think even when I was a freaking train wreck, I knew it, and I was conscious about I don't want to start. But once I turned the corner to, I kind of want to make some change. That's done then. Now I'm on the path to, I'm going to make some change. And doesn't mean there's not a little bit of fallback, but I think that if people want to make the change, they have to understand right away they're on the path. Mm-hmm. So often people look at the mess of roads in front of them. And I mentioned this on another show, where you look at an old style map and there's all the lines and all the roads. And you look at that and you're like, I want to get to California, but I look at this map and I have no freaking idea which road to take or what it looks like. Once you make the decision to simplify it and just say, look, I'm getting to California, get on the right path, and it starts becoming clear. And that right path is what we've talked about. Eliminate X, Y, and Z, and add in these things. So I do come from a place of, I believe that real significant life change is twofold. I do think that there isn't significant, long-lasting life change without a spiritual transformation. I believe that because that's what it took for me. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that so somebody can't be fit if they don't know Jesus. I don't believe that, but I'm telling you what worked for me. And I think long-term, that willpower stuff, all of that self-help stuff, it doesn't mean anything apart from the power of Christ for me. Mm-hmm. But once you make that determination, it's just about understanding. Once you decide, I'm going to change, you have to focus on your physicality. Everything has to be focused around the physicality. I'm taking the spiritual side out. For me, the spiritual came first. Then I decided, I know I got to work on my fitness. I also, once I got a little bit of a taste of it, wanted more and more and more and more. So I talk about in the show a couple weeks ago, the suck cycle, to where people get gung-ho and they start. They're like, okay, I've lost 20 pounds and this first 4 weeks has been, then all of a sudden the newness wears off. It kind of like, you're in that suck cycle. You have to get out of that as fast as possible. So you have to go dark. You have to tell people, no, I'm not going to the concert. I'm not going to Sturgis. I'm not going to go do this. I'm not going out I'm going to get myself, I'm going to buckle down, and I'm going to start seeing some results. And then the results will start feeding themselves. People fall off because it's hard. Let's not overcomplicate it. This stuff's not easy. I post a lot of stuff on Instagram that I would have never thought I would do a year ago, but it's, kind of part of the process. So the other day, I decided I wanted to get a weighted vest. So I get this Go Ruck, plug for Go Ruck, pretty neat company. So I got this vest, and it turns out it doesn't come with any weight. So you got to buy the weight. Who knew? Yeah. So I buy a 10-pound plate. I thought, okay, that's not that much. And they tell you want to do maybe 10% of your body weight is about where you want to be. So I'd want to put about 16 and a half pounds on me to go out and do my stuff. I don't want to go overboard, so I bought a 10-pound plate. Okay. I also remember shortly after that, I ordered a 20-pound plate. Kind of forgot that though. So I'm going out from my first ruck the other day. I put my 10-pound plate in. I'm getting ready to rock and roll. Before I leave the house, the FedEx guy comes to the front door. He's got the 20-pound plate with him. I thought, well, this must be a sign. So I throw that in too. So now I've got 30 pounds on me. So I go to Flanagan where I walk and I put my thing on and I'm like, oh my goodness, this kind of sucks. And so, you strap it on with the Velcro and everything. And so off I go. And it was freaking hard. Mm-hmm. But you have to keep doing hard stuff. And for me, I'm always wanting to do the next hard thing. But this stuff's not easy. Sitting in the sauna for 45 minutes, I almost passed out the other morning. I'm just sitting there going, oh no. It's funny because I had a comment, I mentioned it on the show. And one of the comments was, because I said something about now my mental health, I'm not speaking to that, but I put the cold gear on, so I'm sweating even more. And I'll put the hoodie on and then get in the sauna. And I said, maybe my mental health's not right. Somebody made a comment. You're right. Your mental health's not healthy and you're going to dehydrate yourself and this and that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I get it. But I think you need to be comfortable doing hard things. And so often we're looking for life to be easier. I'm looking for life to be harder. And that seems masochistic, and I don't mean it to be, but it's just, I shared this morning at Guillermo's house. Never at a point in my life have I had more freedom and less accountability. I don't answer to anybody. I don't have to be anywhere. I can do anything. And that's a pretty weird feeling. And because of that, I now am more regimented than I've ever been in my life and more disciplined than I've ever been in my life. So I feed on the fact that I can go do anything because the victory of doing hard things when you don't have to me, is even more magnified. I think people are going to be ineffective, unhealthy, fat, lazy, broke most of their lives if they keep searching for comfort.
I have this weird thing of trade-off for fitness and work. Like I don't do both at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like I'm focused on work, I get fat. Focused on fitness, my work suffers, which sometimes like when you start getting to that right spot mentally, then you can do both. But for me, it's always like I flip-flop. I do one or the other.
Here would be my advice to that. And I don't even know if I answered your question because I went long-winded, but also, let me speak to what you just said. My encouragement to that would be differentiate what you are deeming strategic things for your life or tactical things that need to get done. Your fitness is strategic, meaning it's long play, big picture stuff. Work things are tactical, which means largely you're going to do and see result within a shorter period of time. So I'm going to go bid this job. You're going to get that job, and that's going to turn into income in the fairly short term. It might take a long time to do the job, but in other words, your action steps are turning into something that you can tangibly see. Fitness can be put to the back burner because it's strategic and people struggle doing strategic things and focusing on them. So you're not going to go down, hey, before I get to doing my bid, I'm going to go down for 40 minutes and I'm going to push a lot of blood into my chest and arms. I'm going to go down and lift really hard for 40 minutes. You're going to get a little bit pumped up, but then you're going to have breakfast and you're going to be like, I look the same as I did before I went in. That must not have done me anything.
All right.
Strategic things have to get done first with your day. You ask why people will struggle? Because they don't do strategic things first. I'll give you a real world example. I was writing the book, but I had tactical things that need to be done, like writing the show. Let's say it's Wednesday and that Saturday show is not totally put together. And there's some things that I got to send some videos to Bruce or what. There's a lot of work to be done on the show. My mind, like most people's minds would be, I get done with my devotional time, whatever, get my cup of coffee. What do I need to do? I got to get on that show. I mean, the show is Saturday. I've got to focus on that. The discipline, though, because I focus on discipline more than my emotions and thoughts. I have disciplined myself. I said, I'm going to do the strategic thing first. So you know what I disciplined myself to do? I'm not going to touch Saturday's show until I've written 1,000 words. So that'll stress you a little bit. Well, I got to do that show. No, you have to do the strategic thing first, because if I'd start focusing on the show, I'm not going to go back later in the day and write my 1,000 words. So that's another day I've pushed off my most important longer return big picture item, which is the book. So I'd sit down. Okay, I don't care about that show. If it doesn't come together, it doesn't come together. I'll sit in front of the microphone and figure it out. But the book is my priority because it's strategic. I have 2 strategic things I did for months: my training and the book. So every day, the strategic stuff got done before anything tactical. Well, I got to run to Whole Foods and I got to get this, and those are tactical things. That gets pushed off. So I'm going to get my prayer time, which is a non-negotiable. I'm going to go downstairs and lift for 60 minutes. And then I'm going to come upstairs and I'm going to have my breakfast, and I'm not going to do anything else till I write 1,000 words. Now, I found days where I'm like, man, I can't go fast enough. And I'm like, wow, maybe it's 2,000 words. Or I might spend 2 hours struggling to get there. I'm like, oh, man. And I have found that I would write that 1,000 words, and then the next morning I go back and guess what? Half of them are, you know what? Those are garbage.
Right.
So, but I don't have to write 2,000 that day. The point is I'm putting 1,000 words down, and now that's done. So no matter what happens the rest of the day, if I get nothing done tactically the rest of the day, that's a successful day when I go to bed. Why? Because I've done my strategic things. If you would discipline yourself to understand what are your strategic missions right now, I would say fitness and health has to be a strategic priority for you, especially at our age.
No.
It has to become a strategic priority. What you'll find is, let's just say I agree, and your business will suffer. I don't,
right? No,
but let's just say I agree and you're right. The fractional amount that you're going to have your business fall off is going to be so far and more made up for on the back end. When you start walking out that discipline, all of a sudden, look at Mike. Look at the changes Mike's made. Look at how disciplined he is and how fit. And people will look at you different. You're going to carry yourself different. You're going to attract more and better people.
No, look, I've been there.
Yeah.
And I've done both. And it's not an excuse, it's just whatever. It's just when I get in this into work stuff, and whether it's, life changes, are we staying in New Orleans? We're coming here, whatever. It's like my brain won't shut off. So I maybe get 4 hours of sleep. I wake up 4 a.m. and I'm like, please just go back to sleep. And it's hard to get up. And I'm not going to say that I don't think, well, maybe I should just go do a 30-minute workout right now. Because I do think it. Yeah. But I'm like, no, I have to have more sleep than this, or my day's going to be shot. And that's what happens. It rolls day into day until I get some of these fires put out and decisions made. And once that happens, then my sleep comes back.
I'm going to focus on the strategic missions in my life once life is easier.
Right. No, I get it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's never happening.
Right. I've mentioned Stevie Nicks. So I'm usually in bed at 8:30, and I try to get 8-9 hours of sleep, and that helps me a ton. So Sunday night, when we went to Stevie Nicks, I get to sleep about 12:30. That's crazy freaking late for me, right? So what's the next Monday look like? Well, obviously you sleep until 8 o'clock and you just, whatever. You know what Monday morning looked like for me?
It's the same.
5:30.
Yeah.
I get up at 5:30, right? Now, if I would have not done that, I wouldn't have felt any better later on in the day if I just slept 2 hours longer. And I would challenge you that if you'll focus on that fitness stuff every single day, your sleep will come. Now, it is going to be hard for a week or two.
No.
But to me, I have to take decision-making out of it. So when you ask, how do you stay on track and how do you not fall off? People fall off when they start negotiating with themselves. I don't negotiate. So when those strategic goals are non-negotiable, the decisions are already made. Are you going to write anything in your book today, Jim? I don't know. I got this going on, and I got to get the cat to the vet, and that show, man, this show is just not coming together, and we got the website and this and that. I would never answer that question that way. The answer is yes, I'm going to write 1,000 words in the book because I don't negotiate with myself. Now, there's a rigidity in my life that can be not super comfortable and not as easy to be around, as I've touched on in other shows. It's probably not easy to be my friend or to, be my person, but because there's a rigidity to what I'm doing. And there has to be flexibility in there. Like if Allie's little girl woke up, and I purposely don't say her name on the show. Yeah. But if Allie's little girl woke up and she was super sick and we needed to get her to the hospital, we'll be like, nope, I strategically have to write my. Yeah. No, obviously you do. There's priorities, but my life has really changed when I started focusing on strategic things first. And the fear that I had, and all these fears are irrational. The fear of, well, I won't get this done, or this might not happen, or none of that stuff ever happens. Everything else only gets better when you focus on your strategic things first.
Well, I've had times in my life where work's on an issue. Yeah, I'm great shape, read.
But it's always going to be an issue, isn't it?
Right, it is now, yeah, for sure.
And it's always going to be.
And especially as I just told you, if I win the lottery, I'm not quitting. So you're right. Yeah, it's never going away.
So what's the plan then?
Yeah, I definitely have to have
The plan is, I think, you've negotiated with yourself and you are going to have to be accepting and okay with, I'm not going to be my best in a lot of areas that start with the foundation of physicality. But I'm going to at least be able to sleep at night knowing that I've given more to my business. That, by the way, nobody's going to give a shit about when you're dead.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say one thing that helped me is I would probably be somebody who was very good at 6-week challenges. I could go for 30, 35 days until it got in the suck. But I could go if I was all in. With CrossFit, we tracked our attendance. So it was good. I was all in. Well, Mike moves up and down the Mississippi River for his job. So we may be in Mississippi, we may be in Missouri, we might be in Louisiana. I started traveling for my job, and it was like I made make an excuse. Well, I'm not going to go to a CrossFit drop-in, or I'm not going to do this. And finally, I just realized that I'm going to execute on the basics and walking and water. And I always thought before, hitting 10,000 steps is not really going to make a difference.
Huge.
I can do that wherever I'm at. How do I act, Mike, when I'm at the airport?
Yeah, just
in between time, what do I do?
Yeah, she's just pacing back and forth.
I'll go get in sometimes a 30-minute walk. It's not exercise. I'm not at a gym, but I prioritize movement. So I think that's one thing to get going.
Yeah, I would disagree. That is exercise. That is movement. That's huge.
Yep.
You can do things in a hotel room with no weight, no band, no nothing. You can do deadlifts with no weight. Nice, slow, controlled. You can do air squats. You do sets of 50 squats with no weight. Yeah. I mean, your legs are shaking, right? You can do stretches. You can do push-ups. You can do sit-ups. You could go for a walk. It's worth 20 minutes. And the excuses, they're real, right? People are, excuses. No, they're real. I have a work dinner and it ended up going till 2 a.m. It's going to be tough at 5:30 then to get up and maybe strategically plan for that event. So I'll give you the Stevie Nicks example. Sunday, I tried to get an extra hour sleep. Saturday night, tried to get an extra hour sleep, thinking, you know what? I'm going to be up a little later. And then I really watched my nutrition on Sunday.
All right.
So we're going to go to a restaurant. So I'm going to eat a little bit different than I would normally eat. So Sunday day, I'm really watching what's going in my body. So my mind kind of works that way because I'm focused on, I'm getting up and training at 5:30. So the rest of it is what it is. And what, I'm not drinking soda, so I have a bottle of water at the show. I had meat and mushrooms for dinner. So I try to plan those things. And the planning is everything.
So I love listening to your story and even thinking back to the beginning of the show. We got these two cuties wrestling in garbage.
Yeah.
Because when I hear your story now of how you're disciplined, I planned out, responsible, it's like, well, it's easy for you. It's always been easy for you. And sometimes you get that, or even people tell me, hey, you're tall.
Yeah, I get it a lot.
It's easy for you. You have energy, you have movement.
Yeah.
But look, you went from purple highlights, long hair, wrestling and garbage.
Yeah. So I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs at 27 years old. And I get a lot how everything's easy for me and how lucky I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people see that as some sort of compliment. And I tell them very honestly and very transparently, this is freaking hard for me. It's hard. It's not easy for me to get off the couch and put that 30 pounds on and go to it was 45 degrees and windy the day that I went. I have a video I put on Instagram of me out there with this thing. And I said, this is freaking hard. And it's also fun for me. Mm-hmm. Since it's 45 and windy, you know what I wore? Shorts. Because that's how I am.
It's 45 and windy. I broke my leg back at mile 1.
Right? So I want to go up to that line without crossing that line because that stuff's fun for me. But this isn't easy. And if anyone could actually live inside my head, they would be like, oh my goodness. I actually really have a lot of respect for this dude because I didn't realize how hard this was and what goes on in his head and how hard this is for him every freaking day,
Burger
day
King's
in and day
easy.
out.
There's no doubt. If you want to be easy, Burger King's easy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, doing what you're doing is obviously the harder decision for.
The reward in it for me is, so the idea with the show, the book and everything is I want to do something that maybe somebody's impacted by. I saw some dudes today at this breakfast I haven't seen in a few months. And it's funny. It's really humbling because they're like, hey, this one guy, he says he's a musician. He's a music teacher, older guy. He teaches kids music at public schools. And it's God's work. I can't imagine. But he loves it and he's an accomplished musician. So he's like, I went through a period where I'm not really practicing anymore. I'm going to retire in a couple of years. I don't need to practice the, instruments and stuff. I know how to do it good enough and I'm a good teacher and everything. He says, I was listening to your show a couple of weeks ago and it motivated me to get back to practicing every day. And I thought, and how many times have I sat here and said, if you're a music teacher, you should practice 0 times.
Right.
But the message transcends. And so that guy, in a small way, had his life positively impacted because he's got some schlep sitting up here talking in a microphone, talking about, get up at 5:30 and do something. That's what this stuff's all about for me. And
you're one of the few people that I told years ago. You remember when I gave you the shepherd speech that you're a shepherd?
Yeah.
You're one of the few people I ever given that speech to. But you are. If you're a shepherd, you have to give out the advice and bring the herd in. And people are following your words, and that's cool.
And you have to be ready for the exact opposite of that too. Because the minute you want to start trying to do that, instantly, what? Where do you get off? Right. So I'm sure that I'm going to see some comments as I hear these last couple shows about why is this guy talking about fitness? He's not. Look at him and, whatever. And by the way, I'm not as scrawny as these cameras make me look.
That was the first thing Nancy said, by the way. When
I said that at Stevie Nicks. I'm like, Jim is way taller. I've seen it before, but I'm like, in person.
I was watching these shows and I'm like, I thought the camera was supposed to put on 10 pounds and I'm not
Hopefully
that scrawny.
Not. Yeah. It's thinning
Dang
you
it.
out. You do not look like you're a cancer survivor in real life.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's that Bruce. It's got to fix the cameras. It's the lighting.
Yeah.
But, and so I guess to sum up, your focus, shifting your focus to the strategic things and getting yourself to your optimized fitness.
It's always excuses.
Think
right?
about the people that are impacted, though. Let's not think about it selfishly. Think about how your grandkids could be impacted. Hey, grandpa does this. Grandpa did this. What about your kids?
He loves being a grandpa. So that's going to be a tough one.
And it's your coworkers and it's whoever. And it can even be your mom.
Yeah.
The people that it's my mom will talk about, I'm trying to move a little bit and I went out and painted my fence and that's a huge deal from my mom.
Yeah.
And I just think we need to use our voices for something.
His mom is actually incredible that she does not need to work. She still works every day. We all encourage her to slow down. She loves it.
Does she clean?
Yeah.
She cleans on her hands and knees. She's awesome at it.
Scrubs floors on her hands and
When
knees.
I started going to Pilates class, boom, she just joins right
No
there with
kidding.
me. She does yoga. She does Pilates. She can ride the scooters with her great grandkids. She can get on the floor and play with them,
Great
pop right back up.
grandkids.
I did not inherit my knees from my mother. My mother can literally squat down ass to grass anywhere, anytime.
It's pretty cool.
I have a knee that
Shout
won't go
out
past
Vicky
90.
Collins.
Yep.
She still go by Collins?
Yep.
She does.
How long have your folks been divorced?
That was 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom still has her last name, still
Yeah.
goes by Motes.
But she never remarried, so she just kept it. And she was married. I mean, she was married 19 or 20 years. She got married at 17, so she was Collins longer than she
And that's
was
a
Kephart.
thing, like in divorce decrees. Because I remember last summer, my lawyer's like, we need to talk about, is Tina, can she, and I said, I don't care what she calls herself.
Yeah.
And I actually just said her name. I've probably done it a few times on the show. But
Can you do that anyway? Can you just be like, I don't want her having my
so
name still?
it can be in a negotiation, sure.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
I'd like it put in here that she can't use my name moving forward. And then, well, what's that worth? Or, so
And she can never change her name to a symbol.
correct. Yes. I would like her to be called as frowny face moving forward. That's her symbol. No. She's a fine lady. She's fine.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's interesting how that my mom and dad have been divorced since 87
Yeah.
or something. My mom still goes by that name. So who knows? Anything else on our list here?
So we've talked about a lot. We obviously all love pivoting which way. What would just be the main thing you want them to focus on, or any questions you guys have?
Who's they?
Your listeners.
What do I want them to focus on?
Yeah, like 3 main things. We've tossed a lot at them.
Here would be if somebody sat with me for 1 minute and could say, give me some gold.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I would encourage people to do. Open your mind to a trusting faith in Christ and who he was and what happened on the cross, especially as Easter is approaching. I would say that would be my first piece of advice. Secondly, it would be to focus on strategic things, and the most important of those strategic things being your physicality and your health, because without that, your foundation is on sand and it's too weak to build anything lasting. And the third thing I would tell people would be to take risk all the time. You have to be willing to bet. If I put a bonus fourth thing in, it would be to work every day towards being able to make a living based upon who you are as opposed to what you do. Those would be my things.
As far as risk, you mean calculated risk?
You might.
Sure, he's a recovering heroin addict.
So yeah.
When will I be in Haiti again?
So yes, calculated risks for sure. But once we focus too much on the calculations, it no longer becomes risk. It becomes a mathematical formula that you've decided is in your favor.
Right.
If your faith life is solid, you're focused on your physicality and you're building into that person, your risks will be calculated.
Right.
Because you're not going to be as prone to just reckless, crazy behavior because you're solid in other ways. When your foundation is solid, I'm assuming the calculations have already been made by your lifestyle and your non-negotiables. So take risks.
Not the kind of crazy risk of, I've never parachuted before. I'm going to throw the parachute out and then 5 seconds later I'm going to jump after it. And I saw this on YouTube and the guy puts it on.
I wouldn't advise that. No. But I also, if that's what you want to do.
Yep.
Yeah, those would be my things. What would be your things?
Oh, shoot.
Dun, dun.
Let Mike go first so I can think for a second.
You got things, Mike?
I have things that I would share with people.
Yeah.
I would say that people need to quit talking about the things that they want to do and start pursuing them. I get a lot of that. People call me a lot with their ideas, but they never follow through. So kind of like a take a risk thing. Somebody's calling them, I don't want my work on my job. I want to
Once
start my own
this
business.
happens, I'll do this.
Yeah. So jump in. That's one of the things. I guess that would be a risk-taking thing. Being healthy, even though I'm currently not, I 100% agree with that.
You're not
be
healthy.
Well,
you're just not your best.
I'm not at my best.
Yeah, and I'm not at my best.
Yeah. I would say that people should prioritize health and not make excuses, even though, like I say, it's easy for everybody. I do it. I remember one time Nancy came home and told me about one of her coworkers. She went to the gym and guys on the treadmill, and she's like, yeah, I was going to come last night, but, we didn't land till, like 8:00, and I didn't go beforehand and whatever. And he pulled up his pant leg, and he lost, what was it?
No, he just said everyone has excuses.
Okay, I thought he showed you.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, anyway, he's missing a leg. He's like, everybody has an excuse, and you can choose to.
Yeah.
You can choose to, and he was actually lost in the service or something, right? No?
Nope.
All right. Well, anyway, when I
you're
tell the
mixing some
story, it's
stories.
way more interesting. It's really a good story. So the guy got his leg blown off in Afghanistan.
Correct.
He pulls up his pant leg. He
And
tells
he's
Nancy,
showing it off to
and
Nancy.
he tells Nancy, he says, you know what? Everybody has excuses, but you just have to decide to go out and do the work anyway. So, yeah, way better story.
But the messaging is spot on.
Right.
Right. Yeah, the messaging is
So,
spot
yeah,
on.
so get your health in place. And you know what? Swing for the fences, man. I mean, that kind of goes back to the do what you say, but think big. Think way bigger. So that was my biggest thing when I was young. Like, I was trying to figure out how to make, like, my first race car. Yeah, I love race cars. Like, the first time I wanted to get a late model. Like, this is my whole goal of, like, all right, how am I coming up with, like, $15,000? I wish I would have been thinking of how to come up with $150,000.
Yeah.
Or $1 million, whatever. I mean,
It's a good word.
aim high.
I heard somebody the other day say, if your dreams aren't making you fearful and almost nauseous, they are not near big enough. So you know what? Write a freaking book.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Back to our question
Start
earlier.
a business.
I mean, everybody always thinks, like, I think, oh, yeah, I would love to write a book. But, I mean, when did it really strike home with you that you wanted to write a book? Like, is that something that 5 years ago, if somebody would have said, hey, 3 things you want to do, would write a book have been in the top of that?
So
3 things list?
yes, and I'll tell you why. And it's like most things in my life, it stems from humor and deflection and jokes, which is how I deal with things. So I would say or on rare occasions, there'd be some nugget come out of my mouth that I'm like, well, that's pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
That might help that guy. But most of the time, it was something crazy or
So
bad
funny.
happened.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, that's going in the book.
Yeah.
And I would, this guy, hey, that really helped me, Jim. Oh, shoot, that's going in the book then.
Yeah.
And I would say that laughingly. And
But you mentally were actually making a note of, I really do want to do this.
it also was therapy for me for this season of life. So I think the timing of it was right. And I think you'll see that in as you're reading it. It was really freaking difficult. And this is, I don't like to say things like this because you get the comments of you're just like a sissy or whatever. And maybe I am, but I bawled my freaking eyes out into that keyboard.
Yeah.
On a lot of these sections.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to get through. I had to get up and walk away because I couldn't see the screen. I don't know if the last time you cried so much you can't see in front of you, but I'd have
Never,
to
sissy.
right? Oh, right. And I'm good with that. I'm honest about it.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty strong dude, but yeah, I went through a lot of stuff and reliving a lot of it was super freaking difficult because I compartmentalize stuff and I just lock it up. So in order to write the book, you got to dump all that crap out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, why am I even doing this? Who's going to benefit from this? And the answer is me.
Yeah.
So selfishly, I got some benefit from unpacking some of this stuff. And I came out with some stuff that was really written harshly about some other folks. And I went back and softened a lot of it up. And what would happen, interestingly enough, is so I'd have like journals and stuff around everywhere, and I would have to write things down. Something would come to me, and I'd be like, oh, shoot, so I'll take a quick note. And I wrote a lot of stuff that would be like, soften up divorce talk, or, something, because I would, and then, that's not, I don't mean that.
Yeah, you're not trying to be.
Yeah, I don't mean that. I'm hurt. I don't mean that about this person. Or
You're getting emotional. Like you said, you open up your emotions.
Yeah.
So then, that anger's in there.
Yeah.
That's
and I'm honest about that. So there's an introduction part that talks about, hey, this is how this is written. And it's supposed to be written in a conversational tone. I was trying to explain that to the editor too. I said, look, you don't know me. If we were sitting having coffee, this is me telling you the story. And there's some F-bombs in there. And, because, what's strange is I don't cuss a lot, but I think cuss a lot. So in my head, I use a lot of F-bombs. They just don't come out of my face. So as I'm sitting there typing, I'm like,
Me too. It depends on the company.
Isn't it
I cuss a
weird?
lot mentally all the time, and
Me
and
too.
sometimes it depends on who I'm around, and that's what she'll be like.
Yeah.
Why is it when you're talking to this person, like I have
Yeah.
all of my different roles of who I can speak to how, and sometimes they bleed together and I accidentally let it out. So back to you. So if you go back 35-year-olds, or I mean, if you go back to your 25-year-old self, or if you're just given 3 pointers to, what are your 3 nuggets now?
I would say one for me is time management. I love thinking of ideas. I actually like planning out, okay, I would start 75 hard. Here's what I'm going to do. I love writing it all down. Where I would say one thing Mike has given me is number 2, be just start. Also, I heard Mel Robbins speak a couple weeks ago. I actually never read the books or the
Tony
podcast.
Robbins.
Nope, Mel Robbins was the second day.
No.
Okay.
And her mission, or what made her famous, was 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You just do it. So rather than, hey, I'm going to get up and start working out tomorrow, the alarm goes off. Nope, I'm hitting snooze. You don't think about it. You don't start negotiating with yourself.
Yeah.
It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You do it rather than think about it. So I think that's you. Like, I'm making a list and writing it all down. And Mike's like, you're writing stuff on here you could just do. Just do it right away. If it takes under 5 minutes,
That's good, man.
go do it. Don't put it on the list. Start now. So I would say that paired with time management, because time is our most precious resource. So how do we want to be spending it? And the third thing would be make sure you take time for what fills your cup, whether it's time with family and friends, whether it's a hobby. I don't know what it is, but I think that's what, even just in work, job titles and where I work, that doesn't mean that much to me. It's who I'm surrounded by and what we're working on together. That makes me excited.
I'm glad to hear this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing. So she one day just tells me, of course, she's all scrolls the Instagram and all, making her list. And I want to start doing cold plunge. Okay. So we hadn't had the heater on in our pool for quite some time. So it was what? Was it? Do you remember? 50?
Like 50.
Yeah. So it's like 50-degree pool, whatever. So I'm like for me, it's always like, whatever. I don't, it's nothing that's not my goal. It's not, but I will do it with you. Okay. So we go out there and it's like, how long are we going to do? She's like, 3 minutes to start for the first time. I'm like, okay.
I've never taken a cold shower, nothing. I just scrolled Instagram and they sit in there calmly.
15 seconds.
So I set the timer on the phone and I set it to where I can see it. I'm like, okay, you ready? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. I get in the pool. She puts her foot in the pool. I'm like,
you did not sis out.
No, but it took about a minute and a half to coax her in. Like finally, I'm like, look, this will be the final cold plunge of all time. If you want me to do something with you. So she finally did. Like she's like gets into her waist, and just like, it's like, just get in. Like I'm getting angry.
Yeah.
I'm like, just get in. So I did an extra minute and a half, the very first one. The second one, I only had to do like an extra 45 seconds. And then the third one, I finally smart enough to like, I'm not going in until you're stepping in, or I'm going to shove you. So
you still do it.
We only did it about 10 times.
Yeah.
It was a lot harder than I thought it'd be. You see people do it on social media.
Yeah, we got up to like 6
they
minutes
step
or
in,
something.
boom, they look cold, seems calm.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you're supposed to move around, stay still. It was much colder than I thought it'd be.
So that seems extremely difficult to me. So I've done it in the shower.
But you've probably done like an ice bath though, right? That's probably water really cold, isn't it? Have you done that? Or
So yeah, it's been a lot of years when I was running a ton. So when I don't know other people, but me, when I would run a ton, I would get swollen. It looked like I got beat with like, a baton or something. My legs would be swollen and stuff, and my feet. So I would get in ice baths, and that's horror.
Yeah.
It's miserable. But at this point, sometimes I'd be like, okay, I'm done with my shower. Got to turn it over to the right, all the way to the right. And I got to do 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you how often that works. Never. Because it's like, this sucks. And that's when I negotiate with myself. I start going through the list of, dude, you do this, you do this. I mean, you're good.
Yeah.
But I need to break through that. It's just not important to me. When you ask about, why don't people follow through? It's not important to them. It needs to be important to me. I think just because there's that mental, I don't know what it does for you physically. There's probably physical benefits, but I know there's mental benefits through breaking through that barrier.
So what I've done now is I just turn on the shower and get in. So now you don't know how long you're going to be in the cold, but just get in there, get under it, and it's slowly going to warm up to your temperature.
I could do that too. Yeah. It would be on for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I would make sure.
We were just doing it for fun. It was, I have it on video actually, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
But then I just wanted to do it to try it. And he's like, no, you made me do it. The next day, get up. You're going in again, this time for 5 minutes.
Yep. And then we went and got in the steam shower afterwards. So I go from the cold to the hot. And
That's pretty cool. You have
if
a
you
hot
have
tub?
a son,
I had a steam shower. We got a hot tub too.
You have a hot tub?
Yeah.
he doesn't know how to run it that well. So usually it's
Oh,
the
my
same
goodness.
temperature as
This
the
is-
pool.
No, that's
It's
true.
actually a sore
No.
subject. So
It's just a
I know
small
how to run
square
it.
alternative pool.
It has a flow over. So you actually have to go shut off the flow over and then turn on the heat specifically in the hot tub to warm it up. So if you know that we're going to do this,
I
that's
poked
fine.
a button.
But it doesn't happen instantly. So she decides we should have the hot tub on. I should have thought of it obviously an hour ago and shut off the overflow and turn the heat. And so then she's always like, can you go turn on the hot tub? I'm like, it isn't going to work. It takes 30 minutes at least for it to be any different temperature. No, I'm not messing with it.
He's gotten
So
the
then she likes
entire
to tell
pool
people,
105 degrees multiple times.
oh yeah, I'll do that in a minute. I'll keep that thing at 91 all the time if I'm not.
Sometimes intentional,
if somebody
seems
Miss
unintentional.
Frugal
like
doesn't get on me about the gas.
From the
bill.
outside, witnessing this is transitioning into something a little domestic. So
No,
not that there isn't
Look,
value.
she knows when she says he doesn't know how to run it. I'm
Yeah.
offended.
Yeah.
I know how to run it.
Yeah, I saw you perk up there.
Yeah, she knows. It's been discussed. She
So I
knows.
thought, that seems awkward.
She knows that I'm immediately gonna.
I'm with you.
Flare
but
up.
it's obvious he doesn't know how to do it.
I have to ask my sister Mary or my neighbor Michelle, and they come fix the hot
Anytime
tub.
someone
Oh my
gets that
gosh.
pissed off that
Time's
instantly, it's
up.
because there's truth in it.
Yep.
There's
Because
no
if he
truth in
really
this.
believed he knew what he's doing, he's like, I know what I'm doing.
I
You
know.
I know. See how mad he
I'm
bowed
mad. I'm
up
getting
at us? He
madder too.
bowed up.
Yeah.
He had embarrassment at the
Yes.
beginning of the show.
I've
Yes.
never seen him as red as the
Yeah.
beginning of the show.
And he probably thought I was going to go even worse
Yeah,
than
but
I
I
did.
didn't
I
go worse.
cleaned this up
Yes.
pretty good.
Even that piece, I'll say it's a tiny bit embarrassing to me, or it makes me feel nervous. I don't know if embarrassing is the word, but it
No, it's
makes me feel
embarrassing.
uneasy. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know my family listens, or what's going to happen
Yeah.
with these stories. But then I do think it's cool to see it come full circle that these
Yeah.
bad dudes
the idea
have
for
turned
me
into
is
really
to,
good humans.
is to share the testimony. And it's not glorifying that behavior,
Mhm.
but there are young people, maybe even older people out there that are living in a way that they know is contrary to their best self or what would be honoring to God or honoring to their family. They're living that today or as they're listening to this. So there's hope for that person that, they can make a change today. Their Ricky Lake story, quote unquote, could have been yesterday, but their tomorrow can be totally different. We need to share that stuff. There's too much in churches and things, especially of, all the pastors, they went to the Christian school and they married their high school sweetheart and they've only been with one person their whole life and they've never been drunk and good on them.
Yep.
And they went to seminary school and they've read the Bible 100 times and that, they know all that stuff and that's great. And there's real value in that. But there's
Hard
also
for them to
value.
relate to a meth head.
There's value in our testimony as well. And I don't say those things and share those stories in the book to glorify them, but I think that the audience, one of the things I explain in the book is, I think in order for the audience to understand that I have the credibility, that they should pay attention to what I'm saying in part 2. They need to get to know me in part 1. And there's a lot of warts and bad stories in part 1, and there's a lot of victories in part 1. But I throw it all out there, and then they can make the determination because I give them the chance to shut the cover.
Yeah.
If you've read all this and gotten to know me in part 1, if you think there's value in what I'm going to teach you, keep going because there is. But I want to be transparent about those things. And while telling the stories, am I going to do it from such a place of humility where there's shame in it? I'm so ashamed that I did that. I'm not ashamed that I did it. It's part of who I was. And I don't walk in shame and guilt because what did Christ die for? And why did he shed his blood at the cross if I need to walk in shame? He's forgiven me, so I've forgiven me.
Yeah. There's a lot of comments where people will just see us talking and the younger people will say something like, oh yeah, the rich old dudes, whatever. Like they make these comments of like,
I had $30.
And they don't realize, you went to New York City with $30 in your pocket.
Yeah.
And that you lived at my house and paid me $50 a week rent.
Yeah.
And if you had an extra $50 to buy a case of beer and a bag of potatoes and whatever, you're good. Some ramen, perfect. Like you've lived ramen and potatoes and all this stuff.
I tell you the story about Allie bringing a bottle of A1 home.
No.
Yeah, so there's A1 in the door of the fridge and it instantly gets me freaking fired up because when I was poor, I would eat A1 sandwiches. So I would dump A1 on Wonder Bread and that would be my meal.
And it was my A1.
Correct. I didn't even buy the A1. I just thought I'm going to use
And I would actually say, you know how much this stuff costs? Use something else.
Yeah, no, I don't know how much it costs because I'm not buying it. But I have A1 and Wonder Bread, and that's what I'm eating. So I see instantly it gets this visceral reaction. Like, why is there A1? I'm like, I shouldn't have said that. It's not that big a deal. It's just A1.
Yeah.
But I also, and I keep saying also in the book, but and I'm going to unveil different parts of the book in different shows, and we'll read different parts and things. But I talk about all the things I've been. Mm-hmm. So I've been an alcoholic and a drug addict and fat and addicted and broke and a smoker, and I've been all these things. And I've also been a runner, and I've been fit, and I've been wealthy, and I've been so many things. There's no way that people shouldn't get value from that. If I've been through all this crap, it can't just be for a good story to tell. It's got to be to impact and maybe help somebody else. Because I wish I had somebody to tell me some of the stuff that's in this book. Yeah. So we'll see how it lands.
Right on.
And you wrote me a really nice author's testimony.
Yeah.
I think is what the
Mike
editor
did?
called that. It's really.
I've never even seen this or heard of it.
He's like, hey, can you write me something? I'm like, absolutely. He's like, hey, can you write me something? I'm like, oh yeah, sorry about that. I forgot. And then
I'll read it to you when we're done.
Yes, I'd love to see it.
I'm like, park my truck, stop, text message.
I cleaned it up a little.
Yep.
I polished it a little bit, because I'm
me and
spelled the words
texting.
correctly.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah. So it's
like,
all
you
good.
know what? Just so we know, and I don't know what the deal is. Somehow, obviously, at some point, I've saved the word thar, THAR. Anytime I type that in my phone, it switches it to thar. And there's a few words like that. Like if, it will change to of every time. Like, really strange thing that I've obviously at some point I must have pushed save.
Obviously, he doesn't know how to use his phone, much like the hot tub.
I love it. Yes.
It changes that to thar.
That can't be true.
I heard something that I'm an iPhone user.
Okay.
You're an iPhone user.
Of course.
We got Mr. Green over here,
Because
Mr. Droid.
I can't with you.
And I'm not sure how many followers you have that are iPhone or Droid, but they said that Droid people actually like misspelled words, no punctuation, like it doesn't bother them. They said if you actually want a response, to get a higher response if you don't have it perfectly correct. And I said, that's really fitting for Mike.
Oh, maybe that's why Droid switches that to thar. Maybe it's
Thar.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that you're an Android person, I guess. I didn't even...
You don't pay attention to the colors in your text messages?
I'm not buying
But he's
into
green?
this. Apple trying to take over the whole damn world, man. Oh, if you don't have our product.
But you're okay with the Google AI that has recently come out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm totally fine. And the fact that Apple, if they have a new phone launch, they slow down every other phone on the planet immediately so that you have to go buy the new one. The fact that they make it if I send you a picture, they make it grainy and blurry. And if you send me one, they make it grainy and blurry. It's not that they can't communicate. They're purposely doing this so that you'll be like if there's a group chat and I send a photo in it, it downgrades it. And if she sends one, it downgrades the quality of the photo to everybody else in the group because there's an Android guy in this messaging group.
The problem is the Android guy.
Well, that's exactly what Apple's doing. They're trying to get me shunned by everybody, and much like the vaccination.
Consider yourself shunned.
Great. Much like the vaccination, I don't care. I'm not doing
After
it. I won't do it.
Technology
I
killer.
will not change.
I thought about switching to Droid
bend
because his
Apple.
takes really good pictures. They last a long time. The battery life does, but I'm like, I have my iPad. I used to wear an Apple Watch. I switched. I'll stay in the blue.
Yeah, Apple's trying to turn everybody against me. Luckily, hopefully Google. The reason I said about the Google AI is I'm hoping that Google actually has a team. That
I
will
was
protect me
mentioning
when
the
time
racist
comes.
part of it.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's funny.
Is it though?
Well, it's funny that it got programmed in there somehow. Yeah,
It is. So we've been going for
long time.
a while.
Yeah.
We're going to get one long episode out of this or cut it up a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah.
Remove some parts.
Maybe
Maybe we could actually make a.
We don't
could
do
there
that.
actually be two shows on there that this is like one that Nancy could share with her friends and family that cuts out anything that's derogatory about her husband?
So no.
Okay.
I think they know. I think they maybe have a few clues. You're not.
I wasn't always
On the straight and narrow?
the
I think
pristine
so.
Snow White guy that I am now.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah. That was always nice. So you did say that.
You always
Even
have
at
been.
my lowest, I was still the guy that would
Some
help
of the
out a
stuff
friend.
I've told her about what I really think about you would just make you embarrassed and blushed and blushing. Yeah, you're like the best dude I know.
Thanks, buddy.
Anything to add? We appreciate
I
you
love
coming
it.
on.
I just think that you have two people right here who really want to help. So if somebody out there is struggling, whatever that may be, I encourage you to message Jim, because Jim would do anything he can to take you under his wing, offer advice. Mike has lots of good ideas, and they're also pretty down to earth, let you know what you need. So I would encourage you to follow
And
along.
I would encourage you not to reach out to Nancy, because she'll invite you to dinner at my home. And I
Last
don't
night was
really like
pizza
that.
Let's
night.
end there.